This week on Crazy Train of Thought, brought to you by the Idiot Savants. Join host Ryan Wolf, Amy, my wife, me, Philbo the Hobbit, and Austyn the hobo, eye-to-eye backup dancer. Join us for rants about Last of Us 2 and maybe something else.
Check a look.
Welcome, everybody, to Crazy Train of Thought, brought to you by the Idiot Savants. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Ryan Wolf. We are live from Savant Studios. Joining me today,
I'm Amy.
Amy is here.
Yay!
First time on the pod.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. You are Philip's wife.
Yes.
So congrats.
Thank you.
On that, I think. No, it's good to have you. Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Next.
Philbo Swaggins from the Shire.
Philbo Swaggins is here. Thank you for joining us today, Philip.
Yes.
And Austyn, the hobo / eye-to-eye backup dancer.
Austyn Torres is here.
Everybody watch a Goofy movie. It's great.
Yes, for those of you listening on the audio version, Austyn is wearing a Powerline t-shirt that is the fictional band from the Goofy movie.
It's real.
Okay, that is the band from the Goofy movie.
And he was basically supposed to be like Prince, right?
Oh, I was
Like
thinking Michael Jackson.
Prince and Michael. I think it was Prince and Michael Jackson.
That
Like
makes
their
sense. Combination.
It was a mix.
Yeah.
It's
But-
been
He did
so
it
long.
wrong.
Like when I watched that movie last, I'm not even sure that like Prince and Michael Jackson were names or of people that I could recognize. Like,
The parents would.
oh, for sure, yeah, but it's probably been 20 movies, or 20 years since I've seen
20 movies.
at least 20
I watch
movies.
one movie a year. That's why I'm behind.
Yeah,
Because that was like
90 something.
91 or 2.
Yeah.
It was early in the 90s,
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
say.
yeah.
I
And
think.
probably the second one was like 99 or something, maybe.
I don't think I've ever seen the second one.
That one is on fucking Blu-ray.
What the fuck?
But the
man?
first one isn't.
The first one is the one with the cheese, right? They've got
Yeah.
the
The
cheese.
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Pauly Shore. Fucking
I
Pauly
do like Pauly Shore kind of a lot.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
everybody
he's
hates
alright.
him, but there's just something weird in that humor that just
Yeah.
gets me.
Biodome?
Oh, I loved it.
Probably Pauly
I
Shore's
loved
best
it.
movie. Biodome is great. It's so stupid.
Didn't he like look under his glove, like in the? I forget which one he looked.
No,
under
no.
his
In the
glove.
second one, he's pulling. He's like, "You ever wonder why we got these gloves?" And it snaps on his hand. They're like, "That's why the character's never been around. He was realizing the reality."
Oh my god.
But yeah, that's what he does in the second one. Is he asks about the gloves and then snaps his hand. He's like, "Ow!"
That's a little too fiction breaking for me, I
But
think.
it's what Pauly Shore would do in a Disney movie. I mean, come on.
Oh man.
You don't know if he's a teenager, like 30 years old in that movie. You don't know.
The answer is yes. Yeah.
True.
Well, Austin, it's probably been a little while since you've been on the pod. What you been up to, man?
Working a lot.
That sucks.
Yeah, working and playing Battlefront 2.
Okay. More
Well,
Battlefront 2.
More Battlefront 2. I got a couple buddies I'm playing that with, and we just love running around and using force powers and using lightsabers to saber people.
Are you playing on Xbox or PC?
Xbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to be shocked in the fact that I have to say that is indeed a better 2 that you've been playing.
Yes.
Shockingly.
That's sad.
Battlefront 2.
Yeah, that's sad.
Hot take, better than Last of Us 2. Shit.
For sure.
I love that. The defeated for sure.
Damn.
Heard it here first.
But Austin, you should have gotten the memo and worn a Star Wars shirt like the rest of us.
Oh, fuck.
Coincidentally.
I was going through my closet to see which shirt I should wear today because I was trying to wear a different shirt. I think Star Wars is the most represented franchise in my shirt collection. I have the most Star Wars shirts of
I
any
mean,
franchise.
they do have a lot of really good shirts.
Yeah.
I have,
Several.
I have so many. And one of my old roommates stole my favorite. It was like my favorite shirt.
Okay.
And it just vanished.
Which
and it
one
was
was it?
awesome. It was this one I had gotten from Kohl's.
Okay.
I think it was like a not like a burnt out orange, like washed.
Okay.
And then it had the Falcon on it and had like Star Wars, and it was a really cool old timey logo design that I could not find anywhere else. And I saw it, I bought it. I'm like, this is my favorite shirt. And then it disappeared. And I'm like, son of a
I
bitch.
remember that one.
Yeah, wasn't it awesome?
Yeah. You lost several really awesome shirts from
I had a toothless
those
shirt that would
roommates.
like go into his pocket.
was
Like it
so
was little
cute.
toothless going into the pocket.
I got you that one, I
I
think.
know.
Toothless.
Like
From
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. I knew that.
Listeners, you probably know the movie.
Nope. Would not have got that one.
But
Yeah, why didn't you wear a Star Wars shirt, Austin? I sent you the text.
I only have Dunder Mifflin Paper Company t-shirt,
Good choice.
Game of Thrones
Right, like
t-shirt,
3 Game of Thrones t-shirts.
and then this, and then another Powerline shirt after this too. So that's all I had.
you have like a
pretty
laundry
slim
day every
pickings.
Yeah,
weekend.
you really need to catch up on your laundry.
This came out of the dryer. What do you mean? Straight out of the dryer.
Just watch this thing.
His shirt's straight from the dryer.
It's clean enough.
Oh, fucking A. Well, we're going to start with news this week, and then we're going to get to the Last of Us stuff. Did you guys hear the news that Microsoft is going to bid on WB Games?
I did not hear that, but I got your text.
So WB Games is being sold off by AT&T, who bought it in their merger with Time Warner, but they are currently $184 billion in debt. So they are trying to sell off things that they don't need, including DirecTV and WB Games. And WB Games encompasses like Rocksteady that made the Batman games. I believe the developer of the Lego games, the Mortal Kombat IP plus NetherRealms.
Dang.
Yeah, it's like
a lot of
kind of a
stuff.
lot.
I love Lego games.
Yeah.
He won't play with me though. I get too aggressive.
That was
Lego
the
games.
first time a relationship was tested. We played Lego, and I said, no,
Nope.
not again.
Sorry.
Never again.
I did not think you could be mean, and this is unnecessary.
Yeah,
So we
for a
stopped
kid's
playing
game. You play on your own now.
Lego. She can play it on her own on the Switch and be like, I'm having so much fun. I'm like, I know.
I know. Just be yeah.
I will say one thing that intrigues me about the merger or whatever it is. If Microsoft buys them, they do seem to do a better job in some like area than Sony would be, in the fact that they usually get stuff, and then if it is a multi-platform, they don't make it exclusive. They
true.
tend to,
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't be worried per se about Mortal Kombat being just Xbox, because they're like, we want you to play the game, and I think they're also working on getting good faith. So I am slightly worried though about the next Batman, because Sony has Spider-Man,
Right. Right.
So they might be like, well, we have motherfucking Batman.
That was a point that IGN brought up. IGN UK wrote an article about this. Obviously, it's all speculation right now.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything. But like the potentiality of the next Batman game only releasing on PC and Xbox.
I like, there's that worry. I feel that's less likely. I feel it would be more likely, which would kind of suck, because they'd be like, well, actually, in the end, it wouldn't suck because I have a good PC, but
Right.
I might try to get that Superman game made,
There you go. Yeah.
which I think needs to be done, because, like, come on, you can do cool things with that.
Yeah. So it should be noted that if Microsoft were to buy those studios, they would not get like the DC IP. Like Warner or AT&T will still own that. They will still have to license those characters from AT&T.
You just get, like,
They would get all of the
Studios or
assets, the engines, like all of that stuff would come over. But the use of the characters would not necessarily come with that deal. Licensing deals could also be made, but yeah.
so basically, it might be like in the end, like, let's say the deal with DC characters might, like, instead of, it's not that they get it from AT&T and then they just get that thing moved over. AT&T's thing might end, and then Microsoft would have to make something new with DC to continue doing
Like
the
AT&T
WB
owns
stuff?
DC, so they don't need any licensing deals to make those games.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
Yep. So Microsoft would have to put those deals in place in order to continue, except for Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat the IP is owned by NetherRealms, which is owned in turn by AT&T, but that would also be sold off
in the deal.
in the deal. So Microsoft would own Mortal Kombat.
But they're just selling off but they're not selling DC stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They're not selling DC's IP, just the game studios, the people that work for them. Yet. And I mean, fuck, maybe they
Sell
will
it to Disney.
get rid of it
No, they
someday.
have enough. Good grief.
Rian Johnson, want to make us a Batman trilogy?
Christ, no. So glad a Star Wars trilogy was canceled. What do you think, Austyn?
Sounds good to me. I mean,
Okay.
I played the Batman games like once or twice, maybe.
Right.
I never really got into it. And then Mortal Kombat is just Mortal Kombat. I mean, it's fun to destroy people into millions of pieces.
Rip
I mean,
their hearts out.
yeah, rip their hearts out, finish it.
Did you have like a hard time like really getting into it? Because I always thought like it was fun, but I'm not like, oh yeah, Mortal Kombat, I'm gonna play it all the time.
I think, at least the problem for me is I'm terrible. So like,
Button mashing.
yeah, exactly.
That's all. I mean, that's all I know how to do. What do you mean?
Same.
No, I mean like you were saying, like it's kind of fun, but like there's some people where like that's their fighting game, and then the Mortal Kombat comes out and they get heavy into it and play it a lot. When I've played it, I usually pick it up for 5 minutes, have some fun, and then I'm done.
Yeah,
Is that like
only
you
if-
have or
Yeah, when only my friends or my brothers or whoever come over and we just play that and just beat the crap out of each other in that instead of in real life.
get over here?
Got a chain.
That's the way to do
It's
it.
your liver.
I'm so sorry.
You don't need that.
Not anymore. Yeah, I mean, I've had some fun with Mortal Kombat in the past, but I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan. Like,
Yeah.
I probably have seen the movie more times than I've played the games.
Oh no.
Is that
Your might.
yeah?
Yeah, that. I did get into the reboot, which was 9, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so.
I got really, I think that was because at the time I could get games so sparingly. So it's like if you get a game, you gotta make it last. And I liked having Kratos in it. That was pretty fitting.
Right.
But I remember liking the story. The gameplay was good. I'm like, oh, cool. I finally got into Mortal Kombat. And then it just kind of seemed to get more excessive and more convoluted and just like characters and costumes. And then it was kind of getting into like the microtransaction and the DLC.
Right.
And
Loot
like,
boxes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lame.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And even the Batman games, like I appreciate what they do, like as big of an impact as they had on gaming, but like I don't love them.
For like with Arkham Asylum, I liked because my favorite is Arkham Asylum. I've played them. Arkham Knight was a letdown for me. Like it was fun, but the story, the second one was good. It was an expansion, but I think it was too big. I liked the somewhat claustrophobic nature of the first one.
Right.
And then the combat was like, I liked it because for me, while it was really simple, it never felt repetitive because it was just flowing motions. It was all flowing. There wasn't, there was rhythm, but it wasn't just ABA triangle, hold it. And then you do this special move. It was just pop, 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 flip, flip, break bones and stuff. And so I liked that being brought into gaming because my favorite game to take that combat and make it the most fun for me was Shadow of Mordor. Because it was almost exactly the same, but you have a sword. So running around and just cutting people's heads off. It's like the only game I've ever played when it's that type to where I would just run around because it was fun.
Right.
I didn't like the sequel as much because they devolved away from the Batman thing and they're like, we're going to make it more complex. And it's like, it doesn't need to be.
Right. It's already pretty good like it is.
I did like the story in the second one for the most part, other than the fact that it was kind of somewhat similar to Dark Knight Rises, which had come out at that time. So I was like, this is almost the same story in some aspects.
I mean, Dark Knight Rises is so bad though.
I mean, some of the twists, like if you think about some of the structures, there are similarities to when I was like,
Right. You guys co-write this together?
Let's not stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne.
It's so bad. Fucking.
I will
Tom
say
Hardy's
that
Bane.
that fight though was good. Like the first fight when he breaks his back.
Yeah, I mean that's a well filmed scene, and I thought that like that whole fight scene feels like it has weight to it,
But it doesn't.
but like no, I mean like it's fine. That's a fine scene, but just overall,
Yeah.
that movie's terrible.
I could agree. Like I personally like the Bane because it's weird and I like Tom Hardy a lot. The rest of the movie is kind of iffy, and the Batman is just always, I'm gargling marbles. When I was a boy, you put your jacket on my back. I'm Bruce Wayne. And that's the end of the movie. It's like, just stop. You could say, when I was a boy, you put your jacket on me. And he's like, oh, cool. Instead of just, this city just showed you. I'm Batman. Ow, that
Perfect. You got
that
it.
Probably
that's
stopped
hurting
your
my
head.
Nailed it.
that hurts. That hurts.
You have
I
a lot
wonder if
more talking
Christian
to do.
Bale got like. I wonder if his voice hurt after doing.
I mean, I don't know.
voice for that long.
I don't know. I would assume so.
So all right, let's move on from that. The next bit of news here. This is not really a news story, but I just thought it was interesting and maybe something to talk about with you guys before we really dive into The Last of Us here in a few minutes. So Paragon was a game that was made by Epic Games, released a little bit before Fortnite, and they killed it off a little bit after Fortnite came out because Fortnite exploded. So it was a free-to-play MOBA and had some pretty cool art to it, but never really found a footing. So they closed it in early 2018, and they ended up making all of those assets just free on the Unreal Engine.
like an open source type.
Basically, yeah. So you can just pull those assets and use them for any game if you use the Unreal Engine.
Interesting.
And like, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, that's better than just letting them do nothing.
Right, right. So now there are at least 4. This is reported by GameSpot. There are at least 4 new MOBAs being that are using the assets that Paragon was using previously when it was a game. The games include Overprime, Core, Predecessor, and Fault. And most of them are nearing soft launches or betas or alpha phases. Interesting. So, yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Like how nice of them to use that stuff or to just give that stuff for people to use.
That is cool. That is cool. Something fails, use the assets, man. We got something for them.
Because I'm sure like the hard work and time they put into that game to start with to just get it canceled and then, oh, we may as well use it because we worked so hard to start this in the first place.
Not to mention that would have been before Fortnite exploded, so that would have been like actual passion.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
ouch.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's kind of true. I mean,
Gutted it. Right
once
there.
they had Fortnite, they're like, we got all the money and do all the dances. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
that's true. I mean, they do have pretty much all of the money now.
I be flossing.
I hate.
That dances into
Fortnite.
everything. But I was at her house, and there's this kid show that's from Australia, which is actually brilliant for some
Oh, it's
reason.
super cute.
But they're flossing. And I'm like, fucking Fortnite.
Yeah.
Fucking Fortnite.
Little kids just monkey see, monkey do. They'll
Right.
just, oh, this is, whatever.
My best friend's wife works as a teacher.
Oh,
at school,
no.
and so like, yeah,
Everywhere.
So she does it with them.
she doesn't. She doesn't even play video games, but she knows what Fortnite is and knows the dances because the kids do it all the time
Yeah.
when they play like music in class and stuff. It's like,
So, okay, this reminded me of something like, because speaking of flossing, I used to work like children's like retail and everything. And so, like during Easter, like several times I've dressed up in like their little Easter bunny costume, and they did like a little bunny brunch or whatever, and I'm just like messing around, and so like I start flossing and everything, and the kids are like, "Oh look, the Easter bunny's flossing," and I'm like, I'm only doing this
and then you're
because
just slowly dying inside.
Right.
I mean,
everything.
I'm only doing this because you can't see my face. Easter bunny can do anything.
Right. Fucking A.
You're welcome.
Good for you. Yeah, I mean, you got to make the kids happy, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure, it was incredibly embarrassing, and thank you for telling that great story.
Yeah, you're welcome, world. Whoever's listening and watching.
We'll get.
If anybody watching this was a child while she was the Easter Bunny, which was a couple years ago, this was the face of the flossing bunny.
The face of the flossing
And
bunny.
she loved every minute of it. Don't you worry. Continue flossing.
She was having as much fun as you were.
Oh, hell. All right. Let's move on from that. I knew that wouldn't take very long.
I'll be.
I didn't know it was going to go there, but I knew it wouldn't take that long.
Again, you're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome?
Last bit of news here before we get into Last of Us. So the cost of games, we talked about this on last week's episode, is probably going up.
I don't like.
So from $60 to $70, and 2K21 was the one to really put that in perspective for everybody to increase the prices.
Fucking stupid.
Is it though?
Okay.
So that's why we're here.
I will throw this out because Angry Joe was talking a lot about it, so he was kind of more on my side, and then his co-host was more for it.
Okay.
But then they both were like, well, the problem is people are like, cost of games needs to go up because technically through inflation or however it is, games are actually cheaper than they were.
Correct.
The problem is that's kind of bullshit because most of them throw in the microtransactions, heavy use on the DLC, the season passes, and then the special editions that are complete garbage.
That are not. You get
Most of the special editions is a steelbook and maybe some pre-DLC that's $20 extra, and then you have a collector's edition that really isn't worth it, but we still get it anyway. I'm getting Ghost of Tsushima, whatever. But games already are past that, and the thing is, by upping it by 70, they're just gonna gut more money. It's like the microtransactions aren't going anywhere; they're getting worse. So it's not by changing it to 70, we're going to get less of those. It's just going to keep making us pay more.
So this is an article by Gaming Bolt, and that's basically what this article breaks down. It's like, okay, if games are $70, then microtransactions should not be a thing.
Yeah, I would agree on that, but they're going to get worse because they're like, how can we fucking bleed money? I mean, fucking, and it's also bullshit on the NBA because the last one that came out, NBK 20 or whatever, has been fucking ridiculously profitable. I think like 3 or 4 times as profitable as the first sale just on the microtransactions. So they're often giving it away, selling it for like $5 because people are just buying the players and the passes. And I know that those are the bullshit games, but one person starts the slide and it goes like. One thing I was glad that died out was the fucking online passes.
Yep.
That was bullshit, and then it died, and I'm very glad. Was hoping that would happen with I was hoping that would happen with fucking season passes.
See,
and that's in every game.
Well, I mean, like Call of Duty doesn't have a season pass anymore. They are kind of moving on from that, though.
Wasn't that just this one, though?
Well, this is the first one to not have one, but that's
because they're gutting and bleeding money from Warzone. I mean, they are making a ridiculous amount of money for that. And so that way they have people in that, then they can sprinkle some stuff in the maps and get like people to buy the game so they can bleed the money with the microtransactions from Warzone.
Boy, you are
they're still getting that money. I just like, they're gutting money anywhere they can. Like, again, I was hoping, because I remember season passes were starting with Call of Duty, and that was pretty much it. And then every game that could possibly bleed it out was. And I was also getting pissed because like games would be like, we already have our season pass. Your game doesn't come out for 2 fucking months. Why do you have all this DLC planned and you're telling me about it? I get that. And then it's making this thing to where a game's lifespan is like a month, and then they have to bring out more DLC or it dies.
right.
And that's our code. Like even now I'm like, dang, once I play a game, after about a month, I'm kind of bored. And that didn't used to happen before because now they're just churning out all the shit. And then it's just, oh, here's $40 season pass.
Maybe that's on you as a gamer. Maybe you are expecting different things from your games than previously.
Well, it's because they're making them cheaper and gutting out parts of the game to then sell to me.
I'm not sure I agree with that in every case.
Not every case, but that seems to happen
what
more
happens.
than it should. And I'm not saying it's everything, but it's also like, for instance, we've changed with how we consume media, like with Netflix and shit.
Okay.
When I was a kid and even going more into young adult, I could wait long time to watch episodes and shows. I would retain that information longer because I have to wait a week,
Right.
a couple months, and you couldn't skip. Where now you can get an entire season, watch the whole thing, and then your brain's just like, oh, it's gone. Because you don't have to retain the information.
Right.
You can just rewatch it, or they do a little like recap. So our brains are just getting used to everything at once. Forget about it. So that's going to change as gaming because we get used to the culture of this is going to have a bunch of DLC and you're going to be bored of it after a month. But here's the DLC. Here's the DLC.
Okay.
And that's what I see in a lot of games, like the Fighters, Borderlands, Call of Duty, all those things. They just keep trickling little things. And I mean, MB2K is just one of those dumb things. Because all the sports games don't let you play the people you want. And just
the sports games are a fucking shit show. Yeah. Just Madden is garbage. The Madden Ultimate Team stuff is fucking
they need to get
atrocious.
Into like arcade stuff, like the fun, where it's fun.
They're not going to be fun, Philip. I don't know who they're fun for. It's not me. I'm not making those games for me.
No. Oh, it's so realistic. I have to pay $30,000 to maybe get a gold person.
What do you...
Apparently fun enough for enough people that they keep making more. They sell so many.
That's
Well,
true.
they have to update it to the new stats. They can't give a patch. That's too much work. They have to sell you a whole new game, $10 extra, and then resell you the same fucking characters again.
Yeah, I got like super into Madden 15 and I did like the Ultimate Team stuff and I bought some packs and I had some fun like making a team and playing online. And then like I have not touched Madden in about 5 years because I spent money to make my Ultimate Team that was immediately invalidated come August the next year. And I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not doing that again. Like, I'm not spending that money to build that team again. Get the fuck out of here.
That's what they are.
I cannot do that. No way.
That's the same thing with how I'm starting to kind of feel a little bit on Call of Duty. Because it's like, I play other things. I don't have the time. And then when I get to a place that I like, it's like, oh, by the way, the next one's around the corner.
Right.
And then everything else you just did is invalidated and you just do the exact same thing again. It's just fun because, oh, well, the new one's out, so everybody's going to play it. So you have to go there if you want to fight people.
What do you think, Austyn?
I think with these sports games, I think people would pay $100 just for the game. To be honest,
Don't give them
Don't give them ideas.
I'm just saying.
they are going to pay $100 because 2K, in order to get both of the versions, so the Xbox One or the current gen and the next gen versions, you have to pay the $100, and they will give you two separate skewed games for for the next gen.
Sorry, no smart delivery there.
No smart delivery there. I mean, I agree with you. I think people would pay more money, but what would you pay? As a gamer, what would you pay?
For a sports game?
Yeah.
Like $20.
Thank you.
Because I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't know how long they spend on these time making these games, but I mean, if you go to like an RPG, they spend so many hours. That I would be more likely to pay more money for instead of it being a sports game where it's just you just the same thing as you did last year.
Right.
Just
like
recycled.
Yeah, just recycled stuff and same people and same everything. So I mean, it's just.
But have you seen all the new like sweat particles? I mean, that sweat is
that's
realistic.
That stuff gets me going, but
Every single blade of grass on the football field. Every single
aerodynamics.
Every single splinter on the boards.
All the single pores and all the people in the audience.
Like the guys get all sweaty and everything, so they get slippery and you can't really tackle them. Yeah.
It's kind of like that bullshit when they were
mechanic
doing
in the game. That's the sweat stream.
Sweat stream.
It's not a glitch, we swear. It's an intended
As
feature.
the game goes on, runners are harder to tackle because of the sweatiness on their bodies.
Guys, we just figured out how we can program less. It just makes me think of when Ghosts was coming out, Call of Duty Ghosts, and they're like, when you swim, the fish will move out of the way. Like, that's next
really?
gen.
Right, that's next gen. Next gen fish right there.
Which those maps were ass. Worst maps in a Call of Duty. But it's like, built from the ground up. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. That's what they say? No.
So it used to be that for the last probably 2 generations of consoles, what we have gotten was like sports games got progressively better throughout the generation. And then at the start of a new generation, you've got like a reboot of that game. So it might strip out some of the like stuff that they've put in because they are working, supposedly, because they're working on better graphics, better animations, like that kind of thing. But that never happened in this generation. Like, we never got any to a point where it was like, oh, like, this is actually a good game. Like, Madden 2020 is actually a good game. No, it's not. Madden 19, also not a good game. Like, if you look at the reviews on Madden 19, NBA 2K19, NHL 19, whatever the fuck that one's called.
FIFA,
like,
yeah.
FIFA is the same way. Like,
Yep.
I can't imagine that those games are all getting review bombed every single time they come out. It seems like people actually dislike those games to a large extent. And they never got to a point where they were good this generation. And I think that speaks to your point, Phil, in with like the microtransactions and the Madden Ultimate Team stuff and the FIFA Ultimate Team stuff and the lottery stuff in 2K. Like, they spent too much time thinking about how they were going to make money and not enough time thinking about how they could make a better game.
I mean, I think about like when we go to the pre PS3 and 360 era.
Okay.
Somewhat in that ish, but way before it, like the games you would get, your secrets, you'd get the costumes and the cheats, and the developers would be like, how much can we chunk in this game that's like little hidden fun things and all these excess stuff, the costumes and all this fun crap, and those games were like $40-$60 or whatever.
Right.
And now it's just bleeding it dry, and I just don't see the value of a standard of 70. I don't see the value in that, of that being the standard. Because there are plenty of games that get it. Like, there are good games that I would pay that for. Like Resident Evil 2, the remake, God of War. Like, I got the special editions because I felt from what I had seen and tested that it deserved more of my money. But the standard of 70 is not very applicable because the standard of games, I think, is lower than that deserves. Because there's a lot of games that are like, we play good stuff and we shit on the bad stuff. So if all the bad stuff's 70 and then that becomes the standard, like a lot of bad games are out, I don't play them. Right.
Well, let's not think about big publisher stuff. Let's don't think about Call of Duty. Let's think about like smaller releases, like Disintegration is a smaller release by an indie developer, or even Ghost Runner that we talked about last week. That is more of like, that's not any big publisher publishing that game. Like, are you okay with those games being $70? Like, will you pay somebody like Devolver Digital, who's doing more smaller time titles, than somebody like EA, who only focuses on 100% smash hit, huge release games? Are you more likely to pay the $70 for the smaller games?
I think that also depends upon some value, because sometimes the indie games go cheaper because
that's true.
They're smaller, shorter, but sweet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that almost is a balancing act when it comes to those indie titles, because a lot of them don't go full blown, like, and sometimes when they do, it doesn't go good. Like No Man's Sky started out, that basically was an indie game. That people expected AAA. They charged you AAA, and it was not. It's way better now, but that was 3 years
at least. Yeah.
So that also is a balancing act, but I don't know if that affects the standard.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there was some good points in this Polygon article here that I got pulled up. Like, they talked to a couple industry insiders, and made the point that like if you adjust for inflation in 2005, so $60 games kind of came to fruition in about 2005 when the 360 generation started and the PS3. And if you adjust for inflation, then $60 in 2005 is actually worth $81.15 now. So if games are now $79.99, you're still kind of making, you're still getting a good deal after you adjust for inflation if you only charge $80. But I think that in this case, I think gamers are going to have to talk with their wallets. Yeah. So if you don't want the games with microtransactions, don't buy the microtransactions. Like, same thing with the Ultimate Team stuff. We can sit on this podcast and a million other podcasts bitch about that all day and fucking tweet at people online, EA and the guys that make 2K, that I don't like their microtransaction bullshit and the Madden Ultimate Team stuff. But I just sat here and admitted to you I spent money on it. Like, who the fuck? Like,
hypocrite.
What an idiot! Why would I do that? Hypocrite. So, I don't know. And I'm now voting with my wallet by having not bought a Madden game since 2015, and I haven't bought any Ultimate Team stuff. But like, there's got to be other people pissed off about this.
And I think it can also throw in some things where it seems that it's more optional than others. Like, I've put some money into Warzone, and that is way more optional than I would say the Madden and the football, because like the point of that game is to play as specific players, and you have to pay to get those. Like the good ones you want, you have to buy.
Yeah, in Madden's case, you're talking
in Madden's case, and I think like FIFA.
Oh yeah, FIFA's the same way. NBA 2K is the same way.
Those ones. Whereas like at least in what I've played, you don't have to get certain guns. You just it's more like setups and stuff. But that it feels more optional where there are a lot of them that are less. And then like I don't want it to jump to 80 because there's a lot of special editions that you get a steelbook and maybe some other little trinkets that's 80. So then now I have to pay $100 for that one.
Yeah, you probably will have to pay $100 for that one. If the new standard's 80, you're not getting the regular game for the, they're not going to give you the standard edition for the $80 price.
I honestly would much rather them start doing where it's 60 and then most games have a special edition with a steelbook and maybe some extra DLC. Then there's some extra value. Right. So plastic, I get steelbook.
I mean, probably the biggest ripoff in video games besides the Ultimate Team card pack bullshit and loot boxes too, but would be like digital deluxe editions, because I don't get no fucking steelbook. I got a different color pair of pants for my character. I'm in Purple Pants Man.
Like my steelbook, you don't get it.
I don't need it.
You don't get it.
My steelbook would require me to put a disc in the system, and I don't want to do that.
I know you want your steelbook with a digital code.
Yep, bingo. All right, we're going to take a break here. I think that's it for news. We'll be back with some Last of Us 2.
With depression.
Okay, all right.
I have crippling depression.
I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okame.
We are the Super Media Bros podcast.
Each week, we give a comedically informative take on movies,
Music,
television,
video games,
and much more.
Put your shades on and listen to all episodes on supermediabrospodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah,
Shades on.
we're off.
All right, and we're back from break, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with us here. We are going to jump into our Last of Us 2 segment. Now, this is going to be structured a little bit different than our regular podcast. So we have Philbo Swaggins,
yes,
and Amy played the game together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Austyn also played the game. I have not played the game. So you guys are going to have to convince me of whatever this game is. So Austyn, you'll have to sell it one way. Amy, you can sell it however you want to sell it. And Philip,
I wish I could convince you of what this game is, but
Are we trying to convince you not to play it? Don't give them any more money?
That's fine. That's fine.
She fell asleep for half of it, so.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Obviously was the second half.
Yep.
So, Philip, if you want to start, I've queued up some theme music for you here. So, go ahead and start.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Okay, go ahead and start, Philip, with your theme.
My
heart.
In a world where I wanted to have fun and life had meaning, there was Neil Druckmann. And he decided that I didn't know that murder was bad, that revenge is bad. And that's it. Welcome to the plot of Last of Us 2.
All right, well, that ends our segment.
I could feel the tears welling in my eyes.
Yeah.
Travesty.
So, like, if you want to boil down the first game really basically, is like there's no real plot in the first one. It's just get Ellie A to B.
Okay.
And the entire game, the point is Ellie and Joel's relationship. That's what makes the game. A lot of people didn't like the gameplay, but loved that thing. I liked the gameplay. And while it is not groundbreaking, and it could be like, people could call it boring, I was never bored because the game didn't outstay its welcome. It's precise to the point, you can get through, and you want to know what's happening next. You don't know the ending. And even when you do, you like the ending because the ending is a question. There's so much moral ambiguity in the ending on the entirety. Most people say the moral ambiguity is whether or not Joel's choice was right. His choice in the end of the game is deciding to kill a bunch of people to save Ellie and not let a vaccine be made. And people say, well, do you agree or not agree? And I say, well, the moral ambiguity goes way further than that, because the moral ambiguity in the end is on both sides. The Fireflies in the first game, which is what the group you go to bring Ellie to, are borderline terrorists.
Okay.
Not like they're borderline on that, and most people consider them that. They've been desperately trying to find this vaccine to make their movement worth something. And then you get to the end, they knock out Joel, they drug Ellie and just go, we're going to take her to surgery right now.
This is in the first.
This is in the first game. And then they're like, okay, we're going to kill Joel too. That's what they said to do. The people who Marlene was leading them at this time, she says, no, I'm going to let him go. It's okay. They were supposed to pay him for bringing her there. That was the deal. Okay. They're like, nope, we're going to kill him and drug Ellie and that's it. And then he decides that, no, I'm not going to let a vaccine be worth more than this person. Like, not having Ellie in this world is basically meaningless. So what's the point of life? So it goes to save her, and it's the father-daughter thing and blah.
Okay.
And then if you really dive into the first game and some of the lore, you don't even know if the vaccine would work. You don't know if they could even be successful. And if you look at the actual science of it, them killing her wouldn't even be a good way to start. And my thing is, I view that what Joel did in the first game is right because of the fact that they didn't give Ellie a choice. If they said, hey, Ellie, you have to die in order for this vaccine, let her say goodbye to them and Joel, I didn't even think he would have gone on a rampage because there would have been closure. That to me is the whole ending is ambiguous.
Okay.
And it's great.
Right.
So the second game then says, hey, you know all the ambiguity about the first game? No, we're going to make everything so black and white. It is just agonizingly like, do you think I'm an idiot? The game, the problem with 2 is, I will say, the writing is bold. The choices are bold. The problem is every decision that they made and how the story is structured, everything has to land perfectly. None of it does.
Okay.
They say, okay, in the first game, you have to accept that Joel is a bad guy, and that's what it was. The Fireflies were good, and that vaccine would have been the cure for humanity, so therefore...
Wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
But
timing.
and that's kind of how they structure it, and it's like, you're making Joel out to be like evil, and he's not a perfect person, but the world is kill or be killed. That is shown super evidently through the whole thing.
Right.
And then it's a fucking zombie apocalypse. And then they even go by, if you want to go into, would a vaccine really even do anything?
Right.
In that specific world, because this is one of the worlds where, like, and this is also what they toned down in the second game for some dumb reason. The first game, most of the time, if you get involved with the infected, you're not going to get out even if you got a bite. Because they come and they rip you to pieces.
Okay.
They eat, consume, kill, tear you apart. This isn't, oh, you get a bite and you're fine. Like, nobody gets bit. And when they do, they die.
Right.
And they're usually torn to pieces. There's one main character and they had very close calls and, you know, could have very easily died. But that's because it's Joel's follower in the first game. Her name is Tess. And they've had a partnership for 15 years of survival, per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like a big moment and whatnot, and then she goes out in a blaze of glory.
Okay.
Surprisingly,
And this happens in the second one?
this
or
happens in
we
the
talking-
first one. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm bouncing around. I'm
Little
just trying to
bit, yep.
explain like that in the first game, the world's visceral, the zombies are a threat, and like a vaccine would almost be pointless. And they try to paint it in this game like it would have saved the world, and it wouldn't have. It's already pretty much gone, and there are hordes which they talk about but don't show. So it wouldn't do that much, and I don't think anybody actually gets.
Are you telling me right now, in the world of The Last of Us 2, Joel potentially could have made a vaccine, but a vaccine doesn't help you if you're ripped to pieces, and a vaccine wouldn't have cured the people who are already turned?
Yeah, it wouldn't have.
Okay.
Because it's a vaccine. Like, it works like a vaccine. A vaccine isn't a cure.
Right.
It's preventative.
Gotcha.
And the preventative nature, and again, this is one of those things where, like, I don't really break down the true science because it's a fungal infection, so a vaccine actually wouldn't do anything because fungal infections are treated differently. But I go by, it's a video game. They're using video game logic.
Right.
But still, and that was how the first game kind of seemed to portray it. So you don't demonize either side. There's a right, there's a wrong. It's a gray area.
Right.
And the second game is just everything's black and white, and they want to say, oh, it's so deep. You just don't get it. And I'm like, I get it. It's just so shallow. I keep telling to Amy that these people are like, it's so deep you don't get it. I'm like, no, you're just looking into a pool, seeing it's so shallow, you see your reflection and go, man, that's deep. And because like I gotta try not to rant, but I'm gonna rant. So the big thing that the game is not about Joel and Ellie at all, which is dumb because that is the point of the first game and that's what brought you in.
Okay.
It's not what this game is about. So it's not even Ellie's game, which is also dumb, but I mean, that makes sense. So, you know, we'll show. This is the steelbook from the first game. So this is Ellie and Joel. And oh, look, it's the steelbook from the second game.
It's Ellie's on the cover.
Look, it's on the fucking back.
That's not Joel.
Yeah, no,
that?
no. This is Abby. This is Abby. So this is whose game it is.
Okay.
By no stretch of the imagination.
Is she on the front or the back of the cover?
Well,
They want to
she's on
make
the
it
back.
the front.
That's on the back
May as
because
well.
this is what they show first. But
Okay.
yeah, so they, in the very beginning of the game, this for me would have been over 30 hours, but I rushed to the end because I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not.
I turned an option on to where you click a button and it tells you where to go, and I ran because I'm like, I'm fucking done with this game.
No exploring
So-
here anymore.
First 2 hours, they kill Joel. Brutally, the worst death I've seen for anyone that, especially a character that is beloved and that I really like.
You ever watch
And-
The Walking Dead, where how they killed spoiler alert,
Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn? Basically, how they did that, just brains everywhere. Yeah, smash.
But imagine if instead of just that, Negan were to hit him on the head once and then just start beating him in the back while he's screaming, and then his wife's next to him going, stop, please stop, and he just keeps doing it.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the game because what happened also okay.
I'm imagining that, and I hate you for like making my brain think those thoughts. That's fucked up,
I
man.
fucking watched it happen. It's not like
That's fucked up.
because they do a really good job at making you hate despise, want to kill Abby. And that's not the point of the game. That's the problem.
Okay.
So what happens is, this is also really dumb. Joel and Tommy is his brother.
Okay.
They have been living in a place called Jackson. This is their place. Like, it's a nice big city. It's by a dam or whatever, so they have electricity.
Okay.
It's a big city, walled, so they're safe. They have hundreds of people, maybe? I don't know exactly.
There's a lot.
And so what happens, everything is just a coincidence in the beginning. So how it works out is Joel and Tommy are now on their reconnaissance mission, because everybody goes out, they do patrols, and they check for infected, and they check for people, they make sure the area is safe.
Okay.
And they also kind of bite down how important this is. So Joel and Tommy are running out. You play as Abby in the beginning. Like, you come in her and she's like, oh, we're going to go find him in Jackson. We're going to go find him. He must be there. We got to get him out. And it's like, oh, the fucking pronoun game. We know who you're looking for.
Who's him? Yeah.
Who's him? Who's him? I wonder. Two characters, her or him. It's Joel. Even she was like, oh, it's fucking Joel, isn't it? She didn't know. I knew, and I'm like, this is
I mean,
so
okay,
bad.
It being a sequel, and they're like, oh, him and stuff. I'm like, I'm sure they're looking for Joel. Like, I'm sure he's gonna die. I just didn't know it was gonna be so soon and then so brutally.
Yeah.
Like, that is just so, that's infuriating in itself. That it's like we've said, you get to know and get attached to Joel and Ellie in the first, and then that's just ripped away so quickly.
And
it's like, ugh.
the worst part about that is the fucking marketing. Lied. So if you haven't seen the trailer, there's a moment where she actually, I did not expect her to get this mad, but she was like inflamed with anger, and I almost broke my TV.
We had to pause.
Yeah, I had to pause because like I had a reaction. In the trailers, they show, we watched the trailers together, and I'm like, yeah. So the first trailer for this game where Joel is shown and you see him talk, it's this cool build-up. Joel grabs Ellie, turns around, she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? He's like, you think I'd let you do this on your own? And everyone's like, fuck yeah, Joel's in the game, yeah! And then the next trailers are old Joel, and she's like, we know things will be different, but they ain't. All a lie. All a lie. That scene when he's
Surprise,
like,
motherfucker.
you think I'd let you do this on your own is a whole different character.
No.
Whole different character. Like when you're going up to that moment where like maybe it's Tommy. It's got to be Tommy, which would have been better.
Yeah.
But then it's just this new Asian guy, and he's just like, you think I'd let you do this on your own? And I was like,
Yeah.
are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, what? And I paused it, and I took my controller, and I'm like, you motherfuckers, and I put it down. Because that's the trailer where they showed him.
Yeah.
Damn.
The fact that everything is the same to a T except for the character, but it's it's the same line. And
Right.
Like
That's
it was
so
lying.
shitty.
Yes, it's absolute catfishing, lying, false advertising, and it's bullshit. I was like so pissed.
And then
And that other scene, it's not even in the game at all because Joel died.
yeah, there's
Right.
other things that aren't in the game. And then every moment they showed in the trailer was old Joel, and it's all young Joel. It's all flashbacks. All of it is flashbacks. And Neil's response to this was what they were doing from the start. It's not even a partway through the development they changed. No.
For the listeners, is Neil Druckmann.
Neil Druckmann,
It was
sorry.
the creative director on Last of Us 2. Okay.
Sorry.
At Naughty
Neil
Dog.
Druckmann, creative director, or just the director. He's basically the CEO at Naughty Dog now that everyone's left. And I mean, like, I guess that's a joke, but it's not. But he's like, well, to keep his death a secret, we had to make sure that, we fake the trailers, bring Troy in to make some lines that are other characters. And it's like, you motherfucker. Really? It's like, well, Hideo Kojima did it with Metal Gear Solid 2. I'm like, Raiden didn't kill Snake. And it took a long time for people to be okay with that. And then Raiden was a good character.
Right.
But he didn't kill Snake. And then it's like, you sold us a lie, and then that's one of those things of, people were pissed at the time. It took a really long time. Pretty much, I think, like, fans coming back into the series for that to be okay. Years.
Right.
Not a right off the market, everything is a lie, and be like, this is fine. No. No. And just because someone else did it doesn't mean it's right. There's a lot of examples for that.
That's like the next Halo trailer containing a bunch of shots of Master Chief, and then when you start Halo 6, he gets shot in the head in 2 hours, and then you play some other fucking piece of shit.
Brought to you by Neil Druckmann.
Neil Druckmann presents Halo 6.
Getting back to the part where a lot of people quit, which is Joel's death.
Okay.
So this is
2 hours into the game,
2 hours
Philip.
into the game. Yeah, 30-hour game, 2 hours in.
There's plenty of other people playing it. They could just watch it if they actually cared.
Yeah, just watch someone else play it so they can scream and get angry. And I mean, like, nobody was happy at that moment.
Right.
Like, I watched all the big streamers, a lot of other streamers, and they're like, what the fuck? What? Because so many of them didn't know. My favorite reactions are probably PewDiePie, because he just turned it off and he's like, I don't want to play anymore. What's the point?
But funny guy.
Okay,
But real
so,
quick, before we jump into that, Austyn, did you know about the marketing stuff? Was that something you noticed?
I didn't really watch any trailers. The only thing I knew about was when I was on the podcast with Phil, and he gave like all the leaks. I think I watched that one trailer where Ellie's sitting in some broken down building playing the guitar.
That's the teaser.
And then is that the teaser?
That's the teaser. That's
Joel's
the first
like,
one.
I want to let you do this on your own. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the only thing I've watched. And then I listened to what Phil said, and then I just jumped into it.
Okay. And you
I didn't realize you were there for the
first one, right?
spoilers. Yeah.
Huh?
You played the first game.
I watched somebody play it while I was playing Total War.
Okay. Almost. That's pretty close.
So, I mean, anytime there was like, playing Total War, I could stop anytime and watch. You know? That's no problem. So,
If you can, I'd
basically watched the
recommend going
playthrough.
back and play it if, because I want to go back and do the first one again, because just that experience is nice.
yeah.
Because like, would it have the same like I don't know, like emotional like?
I'd say it'd be closer to him watching it versus like if he knew nothing about the first game and then played it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know everything that's happened in the first game, but I mean, I don't think I'd want to now replay the first one and then go into the second one where it just
don't play this.
Joel.
Yeah.
Even
It's
the
like-
beginning of the first game is just heart wrenching though.
Yeah. The
what I mean.
beginning, they're like, we're going to repeat the heart wrenching moment from the first game. I'm like, yeah, because that was good writing and it was good character motivation and you didn't go over the top. So just well done.
Right.
Because Joel, in the first game, his daughter dies in front of him. Like you get maybe 30 minutes of like really good character building, showing that they have a great relationship. Father-daughter, he's a nice person, is watching out for her. It's really nice. And then the zombie apocalypse starts.
Right.
So Outbreak Day. And then they get to the end of this segment. You're carrying her and a soldier comes up and he's like, stop. And they're like, wait, dude, we just been through hell. Please help us. And he's like, I got some civilians. He's like, there's a girl though. Oh. And then he shoots them. And then the dude comes up on Joel because he's like, no, wait. And then Tommy shoots him in the head. The soldier Tommy comes up and saves him. And they look, and then she got hit in the stomach. And they have this very emotional moment where it's like she starts dying, and the acting is amazing. This is one of the best moments. I cried when I first saw it. And then it just title sequence.
Okay.
And it's like, this is what you're starting into. And then you are really pulled into Joel's character because you feel for him. He just lost his daughter. And it's like 20 years later, and then you go through.
Okay.
Whereas this is just.
So getting into the scene where Joel kicks the bucket.
Yeah.
Golfs the bucket.
Yeah, golf's the bucket. Hole in one. No, sorry. This is a fucking birdie by a mile or however it is. Like, she was not on par by any means.
He tees off.
So, like Abby, when do you get introduced to Abby in the second game?
So in the second game, you start off as Ellie going off on patrol with Dina.
Okay.
We'll get into that. But you wake up and then they just have a conversation like, Mel, I just been up. I will show you something. They go off on this snow thing. Oh, I'm scared of heights. And then they just go through this little thing. Here's Jackson. Oh, he's got to be there. And they're like, there's too many people. We should turn back. He's like, don't you want what I want? We're going to fucking kill this guy. So she's kind of obsessed. Okay. And he's like, I'm going to go back. It's like, oh, by the way, I got my girlfriend pregnant. Bye. And then you're like, fuck. What? She's like, I can't believe you got Mel pregnant. What the fuck? And then she goes off, and then she's just...
So that was Abby and Owen going on patrol.
Just a hike.
Oh, just a hike. Okay.
Their group is going to find Jackson because this whole group is looking for Joel.
Who's Jackson?
Jackson
That's
is
the
a place.
place. That's a
their
town.
place. Sorry.
Like,
I'm pretty sure I mentioned
right.
that. Sorry.
Yes,
Jackson
you did
place.
mention that.
Yeah.
All right.
Jackson is a place.
They're-
Jackson is a state of mind.
Their base
Got it.
thing. It's like a huge thing, but Jackson is what it's called. That's their home.
I remember.
Home
Yes,
base.
now that you said that.
So then you just wander as her, and I already know. So Amy's like kind of wondering.
Yeah, because
And-
I'm like, okay, we were just playing as Ellie, who is this person in this group. Why are we playing as her now? This is kind of dumb. When are we gonna get back to Ellie?
Right.
So then
Like, why should we care? Oh, they're meeting up with Joel and Tommy. Yeah, Joel and Tommy, because they just saved your life from this horror.
explain that. Okay, that's what I'm going through.
That's what we're going through.
So you go through the zombies, and then she gets on like a horde. So there's like maybe 100 around, which normally you come across like 5.
Okay.
And they just barreling in, and so she's diving, running, fence, and then right as she's about to get eaten, Joel grabs her and pulls her out. So coincidence, yes, Abby.
Okay.
Abby's about to get eaten. Joel grabs her and says, "Whew, are you okay? We gotta go." So Joel saves her life.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And then it's like, oh, it's like at the time I'm like, oh, great. This is how they get introduced. Because I knew it was coming, and it's a coincidence. They're going out on patrol, and she just happens to find them. So they're going through, and Joel and Tommy are constantly saving her life. They have this thing where they're fighting, and at one point, like, they go through a door, and they're kind of secured, and Tommy looks at her and says, "I'm Tommy, and this is Joel. Who are you?" She's like, I'm Abby. And then they're like, "All right, we gotta go." And then she has this realization, because then she realizes that is the Joel that she's looking for, which that also is stupid, that he would just give up his name to a stranger. Not quite as dumb, but that's the moment when it's like, is this the Joel? And it,
Not just some random other
Now-
guy named Joel, because
yeah,
there's nobody else in the world. named
Now-
Joel.
Going around
So
killing all the
Yes.
Joels. Anybody
So-
named Joel dead.
yeah. So then you fight, you go away, and then it's just a horde. And they're like, "We gotta go." It's like, she's like, "I got a place with my peeps. Let's go back there." And they're like, "All right, show it away." And then you're riding and shooting, and it's like, "Oh yeah, we're working together." They get through, and you come across. They open a gate, and there's like 10 people, heavily armed.
Okay.
Horde goes up against the fence, and Owen's like, "Everybody save your bullets," and they just throw a bunch of Molotovs at the zombies. And they go in, so they go into this compound. Joel and Tommy get off their horses. They bring them in. Everyone is armed to the teeth. They look like they're in military gear. Like, this is not just civilians. They are armed to the teeth.
Right.
And they're just like, general conversation. Tommy is acting like such a fucking idiot this time. And then they walk through, and Joel's like, "So, how long you been here?" The guy's like, "Oh, we just showed up yesterday." And like, we're just passing through. And Tommy's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "Do you live close by?" "Yeah, a couple hours down the hill in Jackson. You guys should come back and get supplies. I'm Tommy, and this is my brother."
You
And then
remember
Joel
when I
goes,
said his name was Joel? This is
Yeah,
Joel.
yeah.
Yep.
Joel's like, "My name's Joel."
In case you forgot.
And then everyone looks up and stares at him, and he's like, "Oh, shit. Sounds like you have heard about us or something." No. And it's about 10 seconds as he turns around and sees Abby, and she's like, "You have." Caps him in the leg with a shotgun, so blows his leg off, basically. He falls. Tommy's like, "No!" Punches one guy and then gets taken down. Chick comes down, bap, 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 knocks him out on the head. And Joel's like, "Tommy, what the fuck?" They get pulled up against a glass thing, and then Abby gets down and is like, "Joel Miller." And he's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Guess." Now, this moment I love, because this is the moment where Joel's like, "Fuck you." And he just goes, "Why don't you say whatever speech you have rehearsed and just get this over with?" And that's all he says, which I'm like, yeah, that's a good fuck you.
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't know who you are. He hasn't been obsessing about this for 4 or 5 years.
Seriously, how long
She's
has
like,
it
"Tourniquet his leg." They tourniquet his leg, and you can see on Owen's face, he's like, "Fuck are you doing?" She goes over, and you just hear clink, clink, and she comes over with a golf club. And she says, "You stupid old man, you don't get to rush this." Bang! Next scene, Ellie's riding a horse. "Joel! Joel!" Oh, there's the fucking house. She goes in, she opens the door, you hear screaming, and then she's like, "What's going on?" And she looks and she sees the sleeping bags and goes, "Oh shit. Oh, like, who the fuck are these people?" Opens the door, and you just see Abby is now no longer wearing her winter gear, and she just hits, and you just hear Joel like outside the door go, "Ah, stop!" And they open the door, and it's just, and he's like, "Oh!" And he's on the ground, his ears clipped, his head's bashed in, he's got a huge bruise here, blood is everywhere, he's got gashes, blood, he's on the ground just in a pile going, like she's been doing this for at least an hour.
Okay.
Because you got to be beating the fuck out of someone to take off your jacket to continue beating them with a golf club. Now, Ellie has about 6 seconds when she goes through and sees what's happening, has a gun.
Didn't
it's
immediately
like,
shoot.
Oh, and then they grab her. Like, it's about 6 seconds. It's enough time to shoot.
Yeah,
So,
like she has an
saved.
immediate reaction to like go into the room and go down to try to help him, but of course like the other people go and grab her. Yeah,
the fucking gun.
she just shot.
Then they grab her, get her to the floor. She cuts one of the guys, and then he starts kicking. And then the Latino guy, his name's Manny, which he's just spouting random Spanish. Like, "Ah, puta madre, burn in hell, pendejo." And it's like,
He does say that a lot throughout the whole game.
it's like, dude, oh, this isn't stereotypes. Pendejo, mata puta madre. I'm gonna get drunk and watch anime. Yeah, that's his fucking character. It's like, are you shitting me? How is this good representation?
People were saying that was Neil Druckmann himself.
Oh, it looks
Oh,
just
I would
fucking
not be
like him. It
surprised.
looks just like him.
What?
The dude looks exactly like Neil Druckmann. It's not played by him.
No, it's not.
It's played by a
It's not.
Latino actor, but it looks just. It's even got his stupid fucking man bun.
I do dislike man buns quite
And it's
a bit.
a small one. But they hold him down, and then he stops him from beating the shit out of Ellie. And Ellie's like, "You're gonna fucking die. You're gonna fucking die. I'm gonna fucking kill all of you." And they're like, "What's going on?" And Owen's like, "This is bad. You gotta end it." And she's like, "Please stop. Don't do this. Joel, get up. Please stop. Please don't do this. Stop." And then Abby's just like, "Fuck it." And then I hate the noise. I've heard it so many times, and he just swing, crunch, and just the music, and you see Ellie's face where she goes, "No!" And you see, I'm like, the acting was incredible.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she pulls the golf club on. What's in view is the golf club with its fucking brains on it dripping off.
Great. Sweet.
You're welcome for that.
Somebody had to animate that.
Yeah. So when he got hit with the golf club first, my stomach went from here up into my gut, and I'm like, this isn't good. And I knew it was gonna happen, but like that is the only time it's ever happened in my life when it's like, because I didn't even realize until playing this game how much I love Joel as a character, just because I knew I loved him. But when you just have someone like tortured, humiliated, and just fucking destroyed beyond anything that a normal human would do. Like, the only person who does that is a serial killer psychopath because they want that level of pain.
Right.
And it is excessive. And there was a point to it being excessive because even Neil says, "We wanted you to hate her right then." And they fucking nailed that. As Ellie is just destroyed, and then they leave. You don't hear much of their conversation. Oh, right after they
contemplate
right
killing
after they bash his brains in, the Latino guy goes over, "Burn in hell, pendejo," and spits on him. And I'm like, ooh, which he gets shot in the fucking head by Tommy. And when that happened, I went, yes, fuck you. And that was probably the happiest I was about a character dying. Now, the problem with this scene is it is so obviously a trap. And in the first game, there is a trap that you come across as Joel and Ellie. There's a dude walking in the road. He's got some blood. And he's like, "Please help." Joel doesn't even hesitate. He's like, "Put your seatbelt on." She's like, "What's going on?" He's like, he's not even hurt. Gasses it. He pulls out a gun and like 10 people jump out. Boom, boom, fight. She's like, "How did you know?" And he's like, "I've been on both sides."
Right.
And he doesn't trust anyone. He has great intuition. And people are like, well, there were 2 characters he trusted in the first game. There was Henry and Sam. They fucking both tried to kill each other the moment they went in. Because you jump in a window, Henry grabs you, and then you have like a little scuffle, and then Joel's just boom, 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 boom. And then they look up, and he sees he has a kid. And Joel is like, stop. And he's like, oh. And Henry's like, "Man, you hit hard." And he's like, "Yeah, I was trying to kill you."
Okay.
And then he only trusts them because Ellie's like, "Maybe we should work together." That's how he trusts people after being in this world for 20 years.
Okay.
And their response is, well, Joel learned to trust. And so his last thoughts were like, man, this is what happens. And I'm like,
I brought this on myself.
Really? Like, even so, 25 years
Right.
in a zombie apocalypse, which is still dumb because this game acts like a zombie apocalypse isn't happening. And that's a problem because the first game brought revitalization into a very tired, boring trope. A zombie apocalypse.
Right.
So many games. You want to play a zombie game?
Sony has
you want to play a
two
zombie game?
first party zombie games. Like,
Which it's a lot of people have said that some of the themes that this game tried to tackle, Days Gone actually did better, which I need to get through because I was really liking the story. The gameplay is like okay. Story was very fun. I got about halfway through and then so many other games came out and I'm like
right.
so it's like, and they also brought a really cool real world thing into what zombies are, the clickers and the cordyceps. It's an actual fungus that is real and can infect insects, make them go and infect other ones.
Okay.
So they said, okay, cool. What if that affected humans?
Right.
So these are like a spore zombie and it was cool and it was terrifying. And like the zombies were a threat and that was the world.
Okay.
Where in this, it basically was like the later seasons of Walking Dead, where instead of it being about humans and zombies, it's just assholes. And sometimes there's zombies when you need a convenient plot point.
Okay.
Which is basically the later seasons of Walking Dead. This, like, I never once had any trouble with zombies except one when it was a boss fight and it was annoying because it was just a bullet sponge. Which is the Rat King, the big thing you fight is Abby.
Oh yeah, fuck that thing.
I know, and it wasn't fun. It was just hard for no reason.
Then like a part of it split off of it,
And then that
started
thing's just like
that thing started attacking you too. It was like a little stalker, and then you had the big giant tank thing. That was kind of annoying. I hated that.
That was one of the parts I was asleep for. So
yeah, she didn't know. Because like
I did not know that happened.
Like that was the thing is there's no variety in enemy types. It's just people are zombies. And in the first game, when you come across zombies, you're afraid. You have to think about what you're gonna do because you're like, is there a clicker anywhere?
Okay.
Which is a clicker is one that is much more malformed. Their face is entirely covered in the fungus so they can't see. So they get around by echolocation. So they go all the time,
okay,
which is really creepy hearing all the time.
Yeah.
And so the other zombies are loud, screamy, and then if you hear that clicker, you're like, fuck, where is it at? Because I got to take down these other guys because that thing will just and eat you.
Okay.
You have to either kill it with a bullet or like a weapon. You can't punch it because the fungus is too overgrown, more or less, but it's a threat.
Right.
So when you find them, you're scared. It's a tense situation. When you get through it, you're like, oh, I survived. Where in this game, Ellie has a switchblade that doesn't break. So you can literally just stealth all the way. And like the zombies rarely ever show up. They show up and they're just kind of an annoyance more so than this is a cool moment. It's just like, oh, I'm trying to get to this person. Oh, here are these zombies that are afraid of you. So you have to like goad them into attacking, which is a cool enemy type. But like, that's all they did.
Right.
And it was cool the first time. And then all the zombies are replaced with that. And it's just, oh, I'm gonna run away. I'm gonna run away. I'm gonna run away. I'm like, stop fucking running. I'm trying to kill you.
So in this game, you primarily play as Abby and Ellie, correct?
Yeah, 50% on each.
Okay.
Which,
and
didn't feel like 50-50.
well, you were asleep. And also I rushed her segment.
and Amy, you watched or played the first one.
She watched.
I watched.
played it.
I watched both times. Yeah.
Okay. And you did not fall asleep during the first one?
No, I didn't. No, I was very invested in the first one. Like, of course, story-wise.
Right.
And, you know, Joel and Ellie's relationship and them making this journey and, you know, to try to see if they can make a vaccine out of her and everything. And, you know, what happens along the way and, you know, gameplay and stuff. But it's like the second one, I was so bored for a lot of it.
With Abby or Ellie?
Primarily Abby, of course, because like anytime I questioned her being the playable character, I'm like, oh, just when are we going to get back to Ellie? I don't care about Abby's plot line like at all. You know, I want to know what she's, you know, what Ellie and whatnot is going to do. So.
Well, when Philip, you brought up the stuff about the first game, and I'm glad that you did that. Like, it doesn't really seem like they gave Abby enough of a character in this game. Like,
so here's what I'll explain because I kind of want to like build because
yeah,
if like if you look at it, like Abby is an okay character. She's not awful. She could be a good character if her story was portrayed different. And they try to pawn her off as being a good person. Like, they shove it down your throat that Abby is a good person. And, oh, she's going to go on this redemption arc and do these things.
Yeah.
And everything in that lines up except for what she does to Joel. A good person would not do that to a human being and have it have zero effect.
Right.
None. Her redemption arc involves another character that has nothing to do with Ellie. And then they say she had a redemption arc. I'm like, Ellie's alive and in front of your face. Say you're sorry.
Right.
Or show remorse. She shows no remorse for Joel. There's like maybe a mention, but even then that seems like kind of convoluted and then it's leaning towards something else. They want you to believe that Abby was justified and that she's a good person because revenge is bad for Ellie but great for Abby. So this is
Not buying it.
The problem with the story structure is you do 15 hours as Ellie, which is close-ish to the first game's original length. Maybe a little shorter, depending. I go through them longer, so I took the first one longer. So you play 15 hours as you're going through, you're mowing down people. You are killing like, maybe I killed probably like 300 people.
Okay.
Like, you kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then like, they're
Not
like,
that many
oh,
people left, Philip. Quit it.
No. That's what people were saying. It's like you dramatically lowered the population, if not wiped it out of Seattle. And I will say the gameplay there, I loved it because I liked the first one. The beginning is a really slow start because like you're like, revenge, yes, we're gonna go fucking kill people, which when they start, like, so after the murder of Joel, Ellie gets up, goes to his grave, and they're like, we're going to go leave. And Tommy's like, you shouldn't go. This, I don't know what, which I'm like, Tommy, it's your brother. And then he like dips out and starts like rampaging and just murdering even more than Ellie does. And I'm like, I'm happy for you, Tommy. Fucking kill him.
Right.
So this is a moment when it's good, other than the fact that Dean is there, which is her love interest, which is very poorly written. So Ellie goes to the house, she's shaking, opens the door, and then like goes in and is seeing all this stuff in Joel's house. So you find like stuff he was working on, and they're really good moments. Like she grabs his jacket and smells it, and then like has this moment. And this is a moment that actually broke me. And like I had a moment and I burst into tears.
Yeah.
Because she goes to the bed, opens a box, and takes out his watch. Now his watch was given to him by his daughter on his birthday, the day before the apocalypse. And then like it's broken because it got shot by the thing. So it's got 2 bullet holes in it. And then Ellie's like, your watch is broken in the first game.
Yeah.
And so like nobody picked up on that. And that's like my heart hitched and I'm like, that's his watch. And then I started talking to it with her.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of started like crumpling and crying more. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay.
Right.
So she takes the watch, takes his old gun, which doesn't have any of the upgrades on it anymore. She's like, oh, that's fucking stupid.
What bullshit.
Continuity.
Yeah, continuity.
So
Video game continuity, I guess.
So the first part of the game, after Joel's death, you go out on an adventure with Dina, and they are just not stop talking.
Okay.
In the first game, like everything that's said between Joel and Ellie means something. They rarely talk, and it's either they see something and they make a poignant point, or it's like conversation that seems to build character because
Meaningful conversation.
you don't know Ellie and you don't fully know Joel. So you learn about both characters where Dina and Ellie are like, hey, remember that party? It's like, oh yeah, I got like drunk with this and wasted. It's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, when Jason was over here, we had this drink and then we had to do that. And I'm reading this letter that is a fucking kid like talking about dying in this apocalypse. And I'm like, shut the fuck up so I can read this piece of paper. And then it's like, okay, here's the conversation drink. I'm like, okay. Hey, by the way, did you remember when we did? I'm like, shut the fuck up. They would not stop talking. And I'm like, seriously, just let me breathe. I can't like your characters when you don't shut the fuck up.
Right.
And then you ride through and then you come to this big open world segment in this crumpled place in Seattle where they give you a map that you can like mark question marks on and like follow it with a cursor. And you do that for 2 hours. And then that's the only time that's there, which I'm like,
That was kind of fun.
okay. I'm like, that was fun. But then I'm also like, this I was honestly like, please don't let this be the whole game, because I don't want to do this the whole game, and I want to go on the revenge thing, because they made a linear story and didn't give you linear enough of a game.
Okay.
And then the whole thing is just grab and craft. Oh, by the way, you know how in the first game, the weapons you wanted were like given to you through the story in like good ways? You have to go out of your way every time to get, you have to go through a bank vault to get a shotgun.
Well, that's where the shotguns are kept.
I know.
It's the shotgun bank vault.
In the first game, it's given to you by a friend, so you don't miss it.
Well, your friend's dead, Philip. Who's going to give you the fucking gun?
He's not dead. He's very much not dead. He's like the most paranoid dude. And then they go into a synagogue and have a bunch of weird stuff. Some of it anti-Semitism, some of it not. It's strange dialogue. The dialogue is weird.
What the fuck?
I know. You go through this puzzle. It's like, oh, generator, gas, generator, plug, gas, generator. I'm like, shut the fucking gates. And then you get through the next area, and then you get blown up on a horse because you like land on a mine, but they're fine. Okay. Ellie gets captured.
The horse,
this dude,
No, the horse
is
is
dead. The horse is very dead.
The horse is sacrificed.
Which is like Ellie's horse from the first game or something like that.
The poor horse.
But they're both fine, of course. So Ellie's captured, and this dude goes up. He's like, "I'm gonna kill you." This other dude comes in, and they're like, "No, we need to interrogate them." What the fuck you talking about? Boom! Gets shot in the head by Dina, who's sitting up on the roof. And then that dude's like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on?" What? Pop, pop, pop. And then she falls, and he's like, "Oh, that was crazy. That was really crazy. I can't believe you did that. You stay right there." Drops his gun and goes to strangle Dina. And then Ellie's like, "Oh, I'm going to get glass. Cut it, go." Stab him in the face. And this is like 5 minutes.
What the fuck?
And then you go through this thing, which this part was kind of cool because you're like kind of tearing through stuff. There's some good moments.
Yeah.
And I love the gunplay. Because, like, the fucking graphicality of the gunplay is nuts. Like, I shot a dude in the eye socket, and it just made that hole and then blew his brains out, and then they're slowly falling off the wall, which is cool.
Good effects.
So then Ellie goes off on her own, which, thank God. That's when the game, like, that's when I was vibing.
Right.
Because, like, no more Dina bullshit, because their dialogue was awful. It's just gossip.
Awkward.
There were some moments that were good, but, like, 90% was just gossip, and it's like, yeah. Like, did you feel the same? Like, I didn't think their dialogue.
The teammate AI is also trash.
Yeah.
They're supposed to help you, like, do stealth kills, and then you get a kill, they'll kill the other person. They don't, half the time they don't do that. And, you know, I'm sitting there getting attacked by, you know, a clicker, and then I'm like,
Ellie!
Yeah, you know,
Ellie!
Yeah.
Ellie, wait! And you're like,
I need help. I need help.
Why do you always have to save your...
The only time the AI was ever helpful to me was in the very start of Abby's section, because you have like 3 people and a dog.
Yeah.
So I just stood there and I'm like,
They did
you can
everything.
sneak. Why? Pop one dude in the head and then they're like, get the dog. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna have to do anything. So then you go like through this cool stealth section as you're like swimming. And these are the moments where like, you get to use the environment to your advantage, which is cool, because I would fuck with people because they don't know where you are. You pop some person to move and they're like, fuck, where are they?
Right.
And they're freaking out. And like part of that is because a good thing that they added in the game that like is cool, but you added it and then gave it a use is the ability to go prone. You can go prone on the ground and like hide in the grass, which is really cool, but it also makes the game so fucking easy. Because I would just hide in the ground because like in Phantom Pain, you could do the whole rolling around and like fight from the ground.
Right.
So you do that. So I just lay on the ground with the gun, put a silencer on it, pop a dude, and then go, "Oh, Jim!" And then run over to his body. "Oh, Steve!" Pop, "Oh, Jesse!"
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I did. It was fun because like there was a moment when I'm on a house. So like there's one roof panel, hallway, and another roof panel. So it's like an awning.
Okay.
And I just kept going back and forth, pop, pop, pop. And they're just like, "Where the fuck is she?" And that was fun, but it's like, this is so easy.
It's a little game breaking.
What difficulty did you play it on?
I played on normal.
Normal? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I did too.
It would have been easy to go through on hard. Then here's another point that humanizes Ellie, but only so much so. You go back to the theater, and Ellie is fucked. She's like shaking and is like, "I tortured her. I know where Abby is." And then like and you also, the Dina pulls off her shirt to like stitch her up, and she is fucked. Like cuts, bruises, like I'm like, Jesus.
Right.
And then she's cleaning her wounds, and then Allie's like having her breakdown. Then she's like, "I don't want to lose you." I'm like, You lost me.
Too late.
Just out of nowhere, it's like, I tortured her. It's bad. I don't want to lose you. I'm like, there's like nothing there.
Right.
And then Jessie shows up. Or no, sorry. She goes out again, I think. I can't remember this fucking timeline because it's so broken, but she goes out at some point and then is like hunting these people. This might have been before the hospital. Maybe.
Sure.
But then Jesse, the Asian guy who dated Dina, got her pregnant, grabs her just like the trailer, and then is like, you think I'm going to let you do this on your own? The whole Joel thing. And I'm like, Ugh. And then you go on this thing, and then he goes back to the thing because he gets injured. They go back to the place, and then she's like, I got to hunt down Abby. And they're like, no, we should leave because she's pregnant. We should take her back. And she's like, okay, but we got to go get Tommy because he's still out there rampaging. And he is like fucking shit up.
Okay.
You're just seeing corpses and tortured people, and all the radio chatters like, who is this fucking one guy? This sniper is just taking out all of us. And you just see like groups as he's just laying waste. And I'm like, go Tommy!
Right.
And then he's like, I'm going to go get Tommy. And she's like, fine, I'm going to go get Abby. Yeah, because this was later, because she goes to the marina. It's an aquarium. And then she finds Owen and this chick named Mel, who is Owen's lady, the person he got pregnant, which you don't really know this.
Sure.
And she's like, tell me where Abby is. And they're like, no. And she's like, fucking tell me. And then Mel's like, okay, she might be here. And then Owen goes for the gun. And then she's like, pop, pop, kills Owen. And then Mel comes at her with a knife. So she grabs the knife, stabs her in the throat. She falls down. Her jacket falls open, pregnant belly. And Ellie's like, and starts throwing up because she just killed a pregnant woman. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no!
I mean, I feel bad.
I mean,
for
like,
the
I
unborn
feel
baby.
bad because it's, you know, the baby's dead, but like, why are you there? You're pregnant.
Oh,
what
yeah.
are you doing in this battle situation? Go home to the safe place. Which we'll also get on that when it goes to Abby. So this is like approaching on 15 to 20 hours ish.
Okay.
Depending upon where you're at. I'm right at the 15-hour mark.
You were talking about Tommy, like, why don't you get to play as Tommy? That sounds awesome.
I know.
Like,
you don't. It
okay.
would have been so much better. Like,
You
I was
guys
thinking
thought
of
of that
structure. I'm
too?
like, man, what if the start was Ellie and Tommy going out? They
Right.
get separated. Dina shows up, and then you're like, oh, what's going on? There's so much chaos. But no, just Tommy goes off and is raging, which his wife treats him like shit, which is weird. She was so nice in the first game. It seems like she'd be warrant for revenge, but she's like, "You're kind of a dick, Tommy. I gotta man this place. We can't send nobody out. We'd be left undefended." Well, then why were Tommy and Joel so open about we live in fucking Jackson? Come get some stuff from us.
Right. Right.
So you go to that. And then I missed this the first time because I was so confused. But Ellie drops her map showing where they are. In circle, this is where we are. And then there's a
on purpose?
no, because she
Another
stabbed Mel.
coincidence?
Yes,
So
it's another.
devastated. She dropped and left
yeah.
the map. She forgot.
And then there's just
Okay.
there's the blood pool flowing in the water from them, and I'm like, why is it hanging on this so long? I did not see the map. Like,
I
it
could
just-
have sworn I
spaced.
said something. I'm like, maybe I just thought it and thought I said it out loud.
And I'm like,
left her.
well, because
map,
like I
really?
didn't say anything out loud.
That's stupid.
Like I
that's
didn't say
pretty-
anything out loud. I just was thinking in my head, why is this hanging on this blood for so long?
Right.
Yeah.
And then it goes back, and then they're like, "Well, we're gonna go back." And he's like, "I think I got something for my wife. It's a gold necklace. It's pretty." And just he's like, "I think that's fake." And he's like, "You're an asshole." So he goes out, and then Jesse and Ellie, which actually have like good friendly chemistry. I liked their communication because Jesse and Lev are like my two new favorite characters because like they're nice people. And Jesse's chemistry, like his charisma is ridiculous. The guy just is really good at acting, and his charisma is wonderful. So I liked his character purely through the actor because he just had a lot of charisma. So they're talking, you hear a little rustle, run through the door, bah! Jesse gets shot right in the face, dead.
You just started to
And
like
Abby
him.
is like, hey, bitch, get the fuck over. Abby's just there, and she's beating the shit out of Tommy. And then she's like, and then Ellie's like, okay, I'm gonna put my gun down. After she's like aiming her gun at her, she's like, okay, I know why you killed Joel. It's because of me. There's no cure because of me. I'm like, you fucking dumbass. They don't even have a communication of where she's like, he killed my father. Like, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I could have killed you, and you wasted it. Fade to black.
And now you play as Abby.
Abby 4 years earlier as a kid, and you hear she's like, Dad, Dad. And then he comes on him and he's like, I gotta save this zebra that's in a fence. So they save a zebra in the fence. And you find out,
All tangled up in barbed wire.
oh, he's a doctor. Oh, the smartest doctor in the whole fucking world. And they go forward and it's like, oh, by the way, that girl's here. Oh, Ellie's there. Oh, so you mean that random NPC that tries to kill you in the first game is actually that doctor? In the first game at the end, you come across the surgery table. The doctor says, no, you can't take her. This is our survival for humanity.
Threatens you with
Grabs
a
the
scalpel,
knife.
yeah.
You can't not kill him.
Okay.
And then you can save the other doctors. You don't have to kill them, but you have to kill him. Get Abby and go. So then they're like, hey, what if he had like a really buff kid? Like really buff. Like stupid buff. Like buff to the point when you're like questioning the reality of that. Wouldn't that be cool? And let's give her golf lessons.
Golf lessons.
So then you start playing as her, and then this is the thing that they're like, we're gonna humanize her. The dad is actually like an asshole.
Okay.
Because they go to the thing where like she's like, he's talking about Ellie like she's a thing, and she's like, oh, you know, we need to do this. We got to do this. This is important. You know, this is for humanity, the cure. Like, this is what this is. And she's like, it's a girl. Like, we can't just, there's nothing. And it's like, what if it was your daughter? And you see the look on his face that he wouldn't do it if it was his daughter. I'm like, you motherfucker. You motherfucker. And then Marlene's like, I'm going to go tell Joel. And he's like, why? He's like, well, he brought her across the entire country. I'm going to go let him know. I'm like, you're an asshole. And I'm glad I shot you in the fucking face in the first game. And then Abby comes around the corner and he's dead. She's like, ah! And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. And then she wakes up by Manny and she's like got this pose and her arm is like as big as my leg.
Okay.
And then she gets up and she's like, wearing a sleeveless shirt.
Starts flexing. No.
So then you walk past a gym like, oh, that
Like
gives me an excuse.
Apocalypse gym?
Yeah, like
No, like a
they're-
full-fledged gym. They're in like the Dodge
They're like in a-
Challengers Stadium, like
Yeah,
some
stadium,
football
yeah.
stadium.
Oh, pre-apocalypse.
Yeah. No, this is the
Oh,
apocalypse.
actually post.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, by the way, there's like 600,
Yeah, their
like
community is
1,000
in a
people here.
stadium.
Yeah. But so Abby, a lot of people are like, including myself, she looks weird. It's too much.
Right.
And they made her bigger. In the first trailer where they revealed her, she looks like muscular, but not what the fuck.
Right.
And then I saw like side by side, her arm is like twice as big. She is designed after a bodybuilder,
Okay.
like modeled after a bodybuilder. People are like, see, it's real. Now I'm like, still, that's hard to obtain. Oh, but not even that. This is a world champion bodybuilder. And I go to Amy and I'm like, hey, you know Arnold? You think that's sexy? She's like,
No.
no. And then everybody's like, you should be attracted to Abby just because she's. I'm like, and it's like, she's normal. I'm like, bodybuilders aren't normal. That's a hard thing to achieve. That's like a full-time job to be that. And like the only thing you eat once in the game is a burrito.
Don't tell me who to be attracted to.
But the only thing she eats is like a burrito. And then like, but she's like stupid big, and they make some mentions of her like working out through her childhood.
Yeah.
And there was a streamer playing it. Tyler1 is his name, and he like rants and rages. But while he was playing, he's like, dude, and he's big, like big buff guy.
Yeah.
Not, I want to say maybe not as like shredded, like in terms of tone.
Okay.
He's like, I've been working on my figure for 12 years. How did she do this in like 2.5 to like 1.5 to 2 years?
Right.
Because the timeline is that this game should have had a 10-year gap.
Yeah.
Because they go up to like a year before this game takes place, and then everybody ages like 8 years.
So it's like
yeah.
The Dark Knight to The Dark Knight Rises.
I think it would have been more digestible if it was 10 years, because these people don't act like they're 19.
Right.
Yeah.
Abby
they
and
don't-
Ellie are supposed to be around 19 years old.
They don't look or act like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, a teenager,
Right.
basically killing hundreds of people, and then like brutally murderizing a person, like that's gonna fuck you up. She has no issues.
Permanently.
Like, nothing towards Joel. So then this is 15 hours in, and you're like, okay, this is the Abby fight. It's going to go. Immediate stop. And you start the entire game over. Like, everything resets.
Jesus
You got to get your
Christ.
weapons.
No.
You got to get your skills. Oh, but by the way, she gets a semi-assault rifle.
Yeah.
And she can craft shotgun shells.
No big deal.
Abby can make flaming shotgun shells with an alcohol bottle and a piece of scrap. With a box of scrap.
I just thought it was.
Ingenuity.
It's like, and then she's big and muscular, so she just gets to beat the shit out of everything. The start of her game, it would have been better, because like 3 hours of her game is just meandering with her friends, and you don't give a shit.
Right.
And then some separation, she gets captured by this group called the Seraphites, which you don't need to know about them, because that's all you fucking know about them. They're called Scars, they're a religious cult.
Okay.
But that's all you get,
Really
which
it.
is kind of weird. Like an indoctrination religious cult. You want us to explain? Sorry, we got to show more muscles.
Just kill them. That's all
Yeah.
you need to know.
So basically nothing happens. Like pretty much nothing other than me just jumping off buildings to see Abby die, which was really funny. I did it
Several
accidentally
times.
once. And it's so funny because she just thud. Like no bounce, just and I just could not stop laughing. Troy is watching me going, don't you think you've jumped enough? I'm like, no. One more
I have
time.
not. One more time.
And then also the other dumb thing is right before they go out, they take Mel out and she's visibly pregnant. And they're like, are you sure she's going about? What does Owen say about this? And she's like, who gives a fuck about Owen's opinion? And nobody's like telling her not to go. She's very pregnant, like big belly, like bigger than my belly.
Okay.
And she's going out into a war zone. And people are like, well, like, it's not that bad. Okay, you just walked through a tent seeing like 50 corpses that Ellie killed. And then you're just talking about how the Scars have been attacking. 5 minutes after leaving, your truck is crashed and you have like 20 people attacking you.
Yeah, she said.
Pregnant lady.
Yeah, she said that it's like, oh, I'm just barely like under enough that I can go out, and it's like
Bullshit.
any real life pregnant woman would. You don't care about yourself or your unborn child. You are not fit to be a mother if you think you're okay to go out into a war zone. Like, what the
Right.
hell is wrong with you?
Right.
Like, what does it matter about the Zorro? I mean, I guess since the game forgot there's a zombie apocalypse going on, isn't that enough? So the game resets, and then you go 3 hours of just meandering nonsense as the Manny dude just like, oh, pendejo, we gonna go drink. Oh, I mean, I'm going to take your alcohol, but it's gonna be mine. I gotta watch that anime. You know, Princess Mononoke? I want to watch that one again. Mala here, pendejo. And it's just like spouting random Spanish. And I'm like, this is such a stereotype.
Right.
It is too much. I can't wait
dude.
till you die.
You don't understand. It's too deep for you to get.
I know.
Philip.
Pendejo. I don't understand Spanish, so it's not deep enough for me.
There's no subtitles.
There is subtitles, but they're in Spanish. So you go through this, you get captured by Scars, and this is where like the good part of her story happens.
Okay.
Because she gets saved.
Quote.
Well, it actually is good, but like it falls flat because everything before it.
Right.
So you get saved by these two Asian kids from this cult.
Okay.
Yara and Lev. They are siblings.
Yeah.
They're not twins, they're siblings.
Yeah.
Cause
Younger.
yeah, Lev is younger. Cause they're like about to gut you, Abby, because they hang people up and then just gut them like intestines. So, you know, that's what they do. And you see it happen as Ellie. Then they bring Yara up and she's like, you left the cult and fucked up, so we're gonna fuck you up. And they take a hammer and just break her arm, just like
They were gonna do both.
they were gonna do both. And then an arrow comes out of nowhere, and Yara and Lev, who is the other character, is like, oh yeah, arrow, shoot, 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 and kills. And then Abby anchor legs just like grabs the chick by the throat and is like, and then the other chick comes with the hammer, just dead. And then it's like, oh, cut her down. Why? She saved my life. Okay, they cut Abby down, and then they kind of have this fight. And this is a moment when like I was like, okay, I kind of like this, but this is not going to get me. And I know this goes nowhere because I fucking know she's asleep. So
I
she's
saw
like,
some of this.
she saw some of this, but she's like, I don't care.
Right.
So you run around, you kind of like you avoid some people, get to a place, you get them hunkered down. Now, this entire time, Lev is very distant. This is boy with a bow.
Okay.
He's like, I don't fucking trust you.
Yeah.
Big buff lady. I don't like
Lev is short for Legolas.
No. Lev is Lev. It's Lev.
Joke.
So they go. Lev is short for Legolas.
Bingo.
Yeah. So they go to like a trailer. He gets her down. Is like, your arm's fucked up. Bye. Abby leaves, and then she goes. This is one of the worst parts of the game. So she goes back to the aquarium, and it's like, Owen, where are you? And he's like, hey, what's up?
And mind, I am asleep for this.
She's asleep for part of it, except one perfect moment.
Yeah, we will get. Oh my
So we
gosh.
go into Owen's boat, and you know this scene, and they have like a discussion and then an argument where Owen actually calls her out for torturing Joel for like a brief second, and then they fight, and they look at each other, and then they fuck.
Are you kidding me?
No. They look at each other, and they're like, "Ugh," and then he takes off her shirt, and at this moment, Amy wakes up and looks and goes, tits, and I'm like, I wouldn't call those that, because she is like buff.
Yeah.
And they at least kept, like, she's got pecs, so I'm like, I mean, they didn't try to sexualize her. It's,
Right.
It's muscle.
Good for them.
And then she just turns around, and it's like, and I'm like, well, thank you, Neil Druckmann.
Yeah,
Thank you, Neil Druckmann.
This is what a zombie apocalypse needed.
I'm gonna watch
Front
it again
row
later.
seat
Hit the record button.
to buff lady and like simp man just going at it. And it's
I wake up to them making out. I'm like, what the hell did I just wake up to? Why did I have to wake up right now? Why is this happening?
He's in a relationship with Mel, which she knows,
good.
so he's a cheater.
Yeah.
And then she has this dream of her going back to the doctor's office again, looking up and seeing Yara and Lev hanging and dead for some reason.
Okay.
And
Probably
then she
like-
wakes up
like the
and
scars
is like
caught him.
with Owen, and she's like, oh no. And then she goes and is like, I should help you guys. And then they take Yara and they bring him back, and they're like, what are these scars kids? And it's like, they're kids. Now, these are two warring factions who basically consider each other to be like lesser than human.
Okay.
So like these people have been killing scars, and they're like, scars are like animals. We just kill them because it's fucking awesome. It's basically what they're saying. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, I killed this many. Oh, well, I killed this many. So they bring her back, and then it's like, you need to go get medical supplies at this hospital. And they're like, we can't get there. And Lev's like, well, actually, there's these ladders that we made that are like higher than everything. So we can get there in like 2 hours.
That's a great voice.
Okay. And then, what else am I supposed to do for a little boy? I'm Lev. Doesn't sound like that
Okay,
at all.
gotcha.
So they go,
Professional.
and then like, they go up and they're like doing this, and oh, Abby's scared of heights. Now, I will say, Abby's level design is kind of atrocious because there is a lot of platforming, and the design is bad because you don't know where you can go. So I kept falling and dying, and I'm like, where the fuck do I go?
Thought you
I
would
can't
like
reach
that.
that ledge, but I can't. And then he's like, are you trying to kill her? I'm like, no, I'm trying to get through this.
You're trying to
Where's
kill
the
her.
fucking floor?
Right.
Then
Okay.
they go to get medical supplies. So they've known each other for a few hours. They climb up the tower, and then the scars come up, and they start yelling at Lev and calling him Lily. They're like, oh, Lily, kill him. And then they fight, and then Lev is kind of having this breakdown. And then Lev is like, did you hear what they called me? And Abby's like, yeah. He's like, do you want to talk about it? He's like, do you want to talk about it?
No.
And then they kind of have these small conversations.
What?
That is the actual dialogue.
Actual dialogue.
No,
yeah.
it's-
And then they have like, I don't remember exactly the breakdown, but they kind of skirt-ish. The basic gist is that Lev is a trans person.
Okay.
Lev was female, transitioned to male. And what started this...
They shaved their head, and
shaved-
that was
yeah.
on that. They
Yeah.
shouldn't have done.
Women don't shave the head.
Okay.
So that's why he was banned-ish or attempted to be murdered.
He was supposed to be
Yeah.
marrying to one of the elders, and then
It's like, nah.
he wanted to be a soldier.
Right.
So.
So you go on this chase, and this is like a few hours, and they're already having these conversations. Like, they've known each other for not even a day.
Right.
And they go through this stuff. They get to the hospital. Abby's like, I'm going to go in and get it. Because, you know, I know people. They will kill you on sight. Bye.
Okay.
So she goes in and is like, give me supplies. And they're like, no. In fact, we're going to capture you because you ran away. Because they also show the leader who is unimportant. He's just this dude who's like, I'm the leader and grumpy. That's his character. See, he's so unimportant, I forgot to mention him. You go through the hospital, you get the stuff, you go downstairs, because like, well, we've been clearing this hospital out for months, and we have like 50 people here, but we didn't go downstairs to clear out the zombies because that's a little bit too much. But you, Abby, clear out the entire basement
By yourself.
Fighting Rat Man or Rat King, whatever it is.
I think we need to speed some of this up,
Yeah.
Philip. For real.
Yeah.
We're
trying
going
like,
on
yeah.
like so in depth, but like
It's not that in depth. You know, the thing is, I am skipping a lot. That's the problem. I am skipping a lot.
really?
Yes. I'm like, what can I skip?
Yeah.
You go downstairs, big boss fight. It's bad because it's just a bullet sponge.
Yeah.
Abby gets out, saved by the skin of her teeth. You come out, and then Lev, they go back, they help Yara, and then Lev is like, I'm going to go save Mom, even though she's going to try to kill me because I didn't follow the cult. So she drives off. He drives off in a boat because I'm confusing Yara and Lev. Yara's like, we should go save him. You just had surgery. Fuck it. They go to this island, Scar Island. They drive over there in a boat, and then it's like, oh, where do we go? And then they go save Lev, and Lev had to kill his mom because she tried to kill him, so it was an accident.
Okay.
And then Lev's distraught, and you go through this thing, and then the group that Abby is in shows up and starts just burning and killing the island. So there's this huge faction war, and then like they go through, which they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go kill them all, and Abby's even in on it. And then now she's like, oh no, we don't want to do that. And then they go through a bunch of chase scenes, and then they get to the end where like they jump through some stuff, and then they come across her faction, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Punch. And then the leader comes around, and he's like, Abby, what are you doing? And then Yara's on the floor because she was shot once, and then Lev's behind Abby, and Abby's like, no, it's just a kid, don't kill it. And he's like, get away from that fucking Scar, and holds up a gun. He's like, get away from the Scar. She's like, it's just a kid. He's like, I'm not moving. He's like, all right, 1, 2, and then Yara shoots him through the stomach, and he falls over dead, and then Yara's like bullet ridden, and then they run off. And then they get to the end of this encampment that's on fire. This huge dude is like, Abby. And then they just have this ridiculously long fight. This dude is missing half of his face, and it's just punch, punch, and I stab it. I'm like, just fucking, I'm so done with this. And then they go, and then they escape, and this is like 10 hours. And I ran. Yes, I ran.
You
No,
mean
they
the
get back to the aquarium,
They
and then
find
she
Owen
finds
and
Owen and Melon. Abby's like, oh no.
And they find the
then
conveniently
Lev is
lost
like,
map.
here's the map, because this is who we assume did it. They don't know who did it, in all honesty. Oh, it's so convoluted. You go to the theater. You go in, get on Tommy, attack him,
This is
shoot
where it
Jesse.
meets
You're
up
Abby. This is
with-
where it meets back up. So
All
this is
right.
like 10 hours in. Would have been longer, but I was running. Oh, God. Go through. And then she's like fighting. Tommy tries to attack, and then like she kicks and then shoots, like blows half his face off. It doesn't actually kill him, but it looks like it does. Abby runs back, and then you go back. Still as Abby. You run into the back of the theater, and you beat the ever-loving fuck out of Ellie in a boss fight. This is not a cinematic.
You're fighting.
You spend
the other
10 minutes
character.
You are
beating
Abby.
the shit out of Ellie.
Fighting
the
Ellie.
character that you love from the first game, and you spent the first 15 hours. You are beating the shit. I spent most of the time just letting Ellie kill me. It's also a horrible boss fight because it's long and hard to get through. And at the end, you get Ellie on the floor, snap her arm, and then just boo, 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 like 6 times punches her in the face. Dina comes running in and is like slashing you with a knife. And then Ellie's like, no. She grabs Dina, smashes her face and turns her over with the knife. And Ellie's like, she's pregnant. Abby says, good, and is about to slit her throat. And Lev is like, no, don't. And she's like, okay, stands up. Is like, still let me see you again, walks off.
What?
Time passes. You're on a farm. Dina and Ellie have a farm. They have the baby. They're raising it. And everything seems good. Their chemistry's still awful. Ellie goes to the barn, gets all the sheep in, a shovel crashes, and then she has a PTSD attack of Joel getting killed, to where she's running down the stairs and Joel is screaming, Ellie, Ellie, help me, please, Ellie. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, game? And you just see his riddled corpse over, and she's like trying to break the door down as he's like, Ellie, help me. And then it picks back to her, and she's just like, she's holding the baby, and Dina's like, hey, it's okay. And she's like, I don't know what to do with anything. They have no real good discussion.
Right.
They go back, and Tommy's like, by the way, Tommy shows up, and he's like limping, and he's like all fucking Phantom of the Opera on his face, and he's like, we found Abby. And Ellie's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I can't do it. I can't do it. I bet you're pretty comfortable being in this house. You promised me. You promised me. Oh, by the way, I got divorced from my wife because she's kind of mad about what I did. And I'm like, really? You're going to fucking ruin Tommy? Really? And then he rides off. And then Ellie's like, I can't leave it alone. And Dina's like, well, I know you're having PTSD, but, you know, okay. She doesn't have like, let's have this discussion. No, there's like nothing. Ellie leaves, goes to California. So, okay, so we're in Santa Barbara. So we're at Santa Barbara. They go to fucking Lev and Abby. They're like, oh, we're going to go find the Fireflies. So for 10 minutes, you play as them. They get a station. Oh, the Fireflies are back. And then they get...
Wait, I thought the Fireflies were done for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
They just find a radio
Fuck
station and it's like, oh, yeah, there's Fireflies. There's hundreds of us. Come to this island. Abby, from this place, come. And then she goes outside and she gets captured by this group called the Rattlers, where a dude now named on the internet as Fat Geralt because he kind of looks like it, just decks them. They get beat to shit. And then it's like, oh, we got him, cool. And then it skips over to Ellie, who's like all fucking sunburn or whatever, finding Abby and Lev's boat. Then she goes through Rattler Island or whatever, and then she gets almost killed and captured. She like gets stabbed in the back by a tree because she was trapped. Gets a gun from Fat Geralt and is like, where's Abby? And he's like, over there. She's like, no, big chick, arms as big as me. She's over there. Kills him. And then she runs off, stitches her own wound. That's fine. You go through Rattler Island, which honestly was really fun because you were just fucking killing people.
You got the what was it? The
submachine gun. You got a silenced submachine gun at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it really
Go through,
matters.
kill a bunch of people. It doesn't matter. Let some prisoners go. And she's like, "Where's Abby? Where's Abby? Where's Abby?" And you get out to it, and apparently Abby tried to escape, and they put her on the pillars. So you go out to this beach, and there's just all these pillars, and Abby's pinned up, and she's like emancipated. So she's like tiny and like lost all of her muscle.
She looks normal.
She looks like a normal person. Still
Yeah, I
pretty
didn't
big.
recognize her.
Yeah.
I was going off the path thinking of like, oh, I don't see her on here, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go this way.
They cut off all her hair too.
And yeah, you couldn't go that way, so I had to go back, and I'm like, oh, it's
fuck
that.
is that?
That person right there? Oh, okay.
Where's the arm? So you cut her down, and you cut her down. Ellie's here to kill her. You cut her down, and then she's like, Lev. Gets Lev down, and she's like, there's boats over there. And then they go to the boats. Ellie sees Joel get killed again in her mind, turns around, and is like, we're going to fight. And Abby's like, I'm not going to do this. Grabs her by the hair, throws her in the water, and is like, you're going to fucking fight me. She's like, I'm not going to fight you. She throws the knife up to Lev's throat and is like, you're going to fight me. She's like, okay, okay. Now, this boss fight is actually really good because it's just desperate. It's awful, and it's just so heavy. They're bleeding and screaming, and it's a good fight, but it's just like fucking end game.
Right.
You go through this boss fight, you're punching, fighting. Abby bites off Ellie's fingers, and then you are choking her underwater. Like you are strangling Abby, about to kill her. Little image of Joel passes up, and she lets her go, and is like, oh, go. And then she leaves. And then Ellie goes home. Can't play the guitar, has a flashback.
Oh, because of her fingers.
Yeah, because of her fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole game she's playing guitar because that's what Joel taught her. So she doesn't have that. And then it's a flashback of Joel, which happens the night before the game even starts, where it's like they've been estranged because you've been seeing flashbacks where she finds out about the whole cure thing and that he helped her live. And she's like, you fucking asshole. They have like some nice conversation. It's a good scene. And it's like, here's your fate closure. So she's like, you asshole, I was supposed to die in that hospital. And Joel's like, you know, if I had a chance to do it again, I would do it again. Like that exact thing. I would do it. And he looks her right in the eyes and I'm like, they didn't compromise his character at least. And then she's like, I can't forgive you for that, but I want to try. And then he has that dad cry. And I'm like, gosh, that hurt. And then she's like, puts the guitar down, walks out onto the lawn.
And Dina and the baby are gone.
Dina and the baby are gone. And so she puts the guitar down and walks out of the house, and then that's the end of the game. So your closure is that in the end fight, Ellie saw her killing Abby as bad and that she could forgive Joel in that moment, thus letting her go. And your closer is that Joel and Ellie were about to make amends, and then he died. And Abby apparently has a redemption story. Honestly, like in the end, if Abby had said, I'm sorry, or made some, because you can't look at Ellie and not say, I hurt you. Like this person has chased you across the country to kill you, and you saw them when you killed Joel, make the connection. The whole game for me would have been like redeemed if that happened in the end. 'Cause
Right.
it would have made things make sense. Because they're saying Ellie's a bad person, revenge is bad, and killing's bad.
Right.
But revenge is good for Abby. She killed the same amount of people. She did the same amount of selfish things. It's just violence and revenge is bad, and that's the game.
All right. End scene.
Yeah, there's like no
That's it.
closure. That's it.
Nope.
It just ends.
Like
So the
whole
story in general is just what's bad.
yeah,
know what I mean?
revenge and
What the
killing
fuck?
is bad.
Yeah.
And like the gameplay really drags in the end.
Yeah.
Like,
I got tired of it.
Again, I just skipped Abby's segment because I was so bored. Like the gameplay was okay, but I'm like, I just want this to be done because it's like 25 hours of just starting over the game.
It's weird for you, like the first game, to be a 15-hour
Yeah.
like tight story. Here's what you do. You go on
Super
this
linear,
journey.
like-
Yeah, and then to like, I guess try to expand what the next game does in terms of scope. And it I guess just seems like a lot of wasted work on Naughty Dog's part to do more work that they didn't have to do. Like you already have this type of storytelling set into place with the first game, and then you I don't know.
It seems it might have a good bit to do with Neil Druckmann because
Okay.
from things I've read, I tried to find the interviews, but it might have just been little comments here and there. But the director for the first game was Bruce Straley, who left Naughty Dog. Neil Druckmann was the creative director and was with the story. And apparently Bruce had to kind of rein him in,
Right.
which makes sense.
Right.
The story was super tight. That seems like someone reining in a writer to kind of be tight. So the game is super tight. The linear focus is really good to where it's like you could go off here, but it's not going to be too bad if you don't. And it's a nice, like good straight path, but didn't feel like it. It felt like you were trying to get somewhere, where in this game you don't know where you're going and everything's pretty open, but then you hit that jarring stop of like, oh, these bushes, this building, very specific spot to keep me from going there.
Right.
Whereas in the first game, I think it's because like the areas were smaller in scope, they could make it tighter in terms of controlling your movement. Because you would like, oh, drop down, and instead of like, oh, we're getting off the road, so here's this drop down. We have like these dirt walls and like this stuff. I can't jump or climb, so I get around. It's an easy direction, where this game is just all over the place. There's not very good direction, and it's just so dragged out.
I can tell that.
I left out probably 80% of what happens.
Oh my.
80%.
Like, would that be accurate in terms? Because I left, like, I barely, there's a lot that just happens that you're like, what, like Abby's story, again, start over. And it's just like all of her factions,
that
gotta
is
meet
a
all of her people.
weird thing to do. Like have a player play halfway through a game and then
Start over. Playing the person who killed someone you've been loving, and then you hate this person.
But I think there's potential for that story to land.
Yes.
Like that's kind of a cool thing. You play as a villain, you know, what the player is going to see as a villain for a while.
Yeah.
Like I can see how that's like in a writer's mind, that story could work.
They would need to flip some parts around. Like playing as Abby first, I would say the best way to open up the game would be when she gets captured by the Seraphites, because that's when her story kicks off. Everything before is just fat.
Right.
And building up her friends, which you don't care about.
Which is weird because she doesn't have any fat on her body. Like, why would her story have fat?
But if you started with the Seraphites and then you learn these characters, because that's where she is likable in these moments. But it's like, you killed Joel and you show no humanity in that.
Right.
And then if you go through that, you're like, what's going on? Wait, they're talking about stuff. It's like, and then you get to the end and you're like, is that Ellie? What's going on? And you start over and then you're playing as the people you want to play as. And then that goes into the end of the game. So it's like kind of a better flow. I think could work.
Yeah.
There'd need to be reworking. I didn't even go into all the flashbacks. There are countless. There's flashbacks and flashbacks within flashbacks and flashbacks and dreams within flashbacks. And then the only good parts of the game are flashbacks where you're Joel and Ellie, because Ellie's having a dream of a flashback.
Jesus Christ.
It's just very convoluted. And the message, like the problem with the fact that it's like killing and revenge is bad and they want to show that these characters are going through things is it's completely disconnected from the gameplay.
Right.
You are killing and maiming hundreds of people and they're like, oh, feel bad about killing dogs. I'm like, why? Dogs are a regular enemy in a video game and I can't get past them without running.
But they have names,
They
Philip.
have names. I'm like,
No,
okay.
Bear. Bimmer.
No, they take one hit to kill. I'm fine. Pop, you're dead. If it's like 20 hits and they're like, but no, they go yelp and die, and they try to kill me, and you can't subdue them. Even in the first game, Joel could choke people out, technically not killing them.
Right.
You had the option if you made shivs where she's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna stab everything. And then my biggest thing is Abby doesn't ever actually redeem herself for the thing that she did to the person who's still alive, to which she could say something to.
Right, a justification is not a redemption.
Yeah, and it's
for
just,
sure.
He killed my dad, who tried to kill him. Like he did.
Started it.
And also, like, you shoot him in the face. You don't torture him for an hour with a golf club.
Right.
And like that kind of takes the humanity. And then they say, she's such a good person, such a good person. You wouldn't do that to a person. Even Joel does torture people in the first game to get information. It is not that far. He's very quick and precise in what he does to get information, and then pretty much puts them out of their misery. While it's still torture, it's not beating someone with a golf club for an hour and would have kept going. But Ellie showed up.
So you see Abby, or there are allusions to her going to the gym, and she's a very buff character, a very muscular character. Like, I'm all for inclusive body types. Like, put more of that into movies and games.
Overwatch, they have a large muscular character. She's a champion weightlifter. That makes sense.
Yeah.
This just doesn't make story sense because she is the biggest person in the game other than one dude in the end. And then there's like these big Russian like ladies because they kind of have accents. They're all fat. Like they are big people.
Yeah.
She is toned to shit. Like toned, the biggest person in the game. Like the biggest person.
What could possibly be the reason for making her that way? Like making her character that way? And then at the end you said, obviously if she's captured, she can't be working out. So now that she's more lithe than she was previously, like, what a weird decision to have her be muscular and then not be muscular.
Like I like that they actually kept that realism.
Okay.
But the problem is like the game is trying to push that, oh, it's so real. It's so real. It's so real. And honestly, like, yeah, this story is really real.
Yeah.
This would probably happen in real life and it would be just as boring, convoluted, and stupid. That's not why we like stories.
Doesn't mean you should make a movie about it or a game. Yeah.
I don't mind her being a big, muscular woman. She's too much. You could tone it down a little bit like they first designed. I don't know why they made it bigger. It seems, and then the comments from the director seems that they're more just trying to like, be like, oh, you're just mad because you're like a little incel boy. You just don't like women and body types. It's like, look,
I'm fine with that.
Like,
I don't care if you want to weightlift. I don't give a shit.
But she doesn't need to be that big. It's a little much because you need supplements.
Yeah, but why would that bother you? What the fuck does it matter how big she is?
Well, it
because of the realism. Is that like specifically the part that bothers you?
I mean, kind of, because it's just strange. Like, it's a strange design.
It is an odd choice.
It is an odd design. And then, like, there's no real justification behind it because she is the biggest person in the game and she's fit. There's a person who's almost as big as her, but he's not even as toned.
Right.
And he's a big fat guy, which is more realistic of being like a big person.
So in a game where they go to lengths to justify almost everything, it just, the puzzle pieces don't fit.
Like, she even undereats somewhat.
Right.
Like, they go to a line like, oh, this is the other thing. The beginning, like, they wanted to make her good by not being on the nose. The first, you start playing as her, oh, her dad helps zebras. Oh, you know, Manny, his dad's sick, so she's going to comfort him. Oh, she's not going to skip in line, and she's going to berate Manny for doing so. Oh, Manny took an extra burrito. She's going to say, hey, don't do that.
No, it's
like that's what she does.
The pregnant lady.
And it's like,
fuck.
Like, honest, like, you, like, the other thing is, like, they kind of devolved it into being a thing. And then, like, oh, this, and it's like, it's kind of like everything has to land for what they want to tell.
Yeah.
And you can pick apart one piece. It's like a house of cards.
Okay.
You pull one card out, the whole thing falls. And I'm just like, why make her that big when it's actually not possible and no other character has done it? Like even the people in the gym are more normal size. I don't mind her being big or muscular,
Right.
but she is a bodybuilder body structure, which takes hours of working out, sleep, so
Right.
much food, protein, like a champion bodybuilder.
Right.
And it's just strange.
What do you think, Austyn?
I just chalked it up as like her just wanting to get revenge, and it just drove her. I mean, I honestly don't care for her being muscular or not, but yeah, I just thought that, you know, there was a gym there, and then she just worked out, and that's all she did for that, what, like 4 or 5 years?
2.
Was it 2?
Oh,
Because
man.
remember the flashbacks, she was tiny in the flashbacks. She had maybe two years at most to get that big. Because there was a flashback that was 2 years prior.
I think it was 4 years.
Well, that's the space, but I'm saying like they had in between flashbacks. So she at most had 2 years to do that. Because there was a flashback where they go to the aquarium. And I want to say that was like 2 years prior because she's going on dates with Owen.
Oh, yeah.
And then because she had the same flashback things like Ellie did.
Yeah.
4 years, 2 years.
And then
3 years,
instead of
1
her
year.
deciding to date Owen, she's like, fuck you.
We gotta kill Joel.
We're going to kill Joel.
We're gonna kill
So she
Joel.
had that fuel for vengeance. Like,
Unhealthy obsession.
unhealthy obsession, yeah.
So the revenge is what's fueling her to be lifting so
Yeah,
much, bro.
instead of having a healthy, I guess a healthy relationship with Owen.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, she goes and says, all right, I'm going to go get beefed up, and then I'm going to fuck this guy up, and then get fucked by Owen too later.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't honestly bother me that much. It's just it became like a big thing because everybody's like,
Yeah, people
it's-
seem way more upset about it than I think they probably should be.
the
Like,
reason
there are bigger gripes
Yeah.
with this game
No,
than what
I
that
agree.
character looks like.
The reason I'm upset is because everyone's defense is you just don't like that women can look like that. Like you're saying women can't look like that. They're like,
no, I don't
this
fucking care.
doesn't
That's
make
fine.
sense.
I don't give a shit.
It's like
totally fine.
And then even then when they're like, we don't like Abby's character, you just don't like that she's buff. You just don't get it.
You're jealous.
You're jealous. Like
You're jealous.
no.
Look, it's deeper than you think it is,
Yes.
Philip.
Yeah.
That deep water.
Yeah. And it's like, it's because, and then the other thing is like all the gameplay added from the first one was the ability to go prone. And then they just made deaths more visceral. That's it.
Yeah.
They honestly made the game easier because going prone and having a knife makes stealth so simple. And I breezed through Abby because I just ran and I'm like, pop, pop, pop. Oh, cool. Here's all the ammo. Pop, pop,
Dude,
pop.
you literally punch zombies with
Yeah.
your bare fists. You're literally knocking them out with your bare fist. I actually enjoyed playing as her.
Yeah, it
running
was-
around with punching stuff, you know? Punching,
Like, it's fun, but it's like, this is dumb.
yeah, you just execute people with your bare hands.
Just
I was like, oh my God.
Which Joel kind of did, but it still was one of those risks. Because if you go to punch a zombie,
Yeah.
the other ones are going to attack you. So you like, I don't want to do that. I more want to like stealth or maybe get a weapon.
Yeah.
'Cause you get a weapon, you can one hit them. So it's like, you got to think where she's just like, fuck it, punch, boom, one hit, kill, smack, crash, shot. I'm like, I'm Terminator. Like I was wrecking as Abby, which
Right.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
She gets
Like,
all those good weapons
you can-
and everything, yeah.
You can craft shotgun shells, the most powerful gun in Apocalypse in the game. And like, once I got back to Abby, I'm like, fuck, I can't craft shotgun shells. Cause I'm just like, pop, pop, oh, cool, cool, craft, pop, pop, flaming shotgun shells that just own. So it's like crazy.
And a flamethrower.
Yeah, she gets the flamethrower. They basically
doesn't.
took Joel, split him in half, and then that's your two characters.
So your main gripes with this game are not developed enough story.
Yeah.
Abby sucks.
I mean,
Ellie kind of sucks.
yeah, and she does. Like, the thing is, Ellie and Abby are both antagonists.
Right.
They're not protagonists. They're antagonists to each other, and they are fully designed like that. So who do I root for? Why do I care? The only two characters in the game, 3 characters. I like Joel. They did stupid with him dying, with how he died, but he didn't compromise his character, so everything from the first game I still love. I like Lev, because Lev is just a likable, nice person. Mm-hmm. They're good. And then I like Jesse because he was really charismatic. And then he's dead. They don't make a mention of him afterwards.
No shit.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody's
And that's-
sad that he
that's like-
died for any.
Well, I mean, they named the baby, what, JJ?
Jesse
For-
Joel.
Jesse Joel, yeah, for both.
That's so stupid.
For
We
both
don't
of them.
know, but that's probably what it is.
That's probably what it is.
And then the other thing that's another issue with this game is that Ellie, Dina, and Jesse are kind of in a love triangle. Abby, Owen, and Mel are in a love triangle. And you want to know how they solve the love triangle?
Fucking
Kill it.
Death.
Oh, right.
Owen and Mel die.
Just guessed that.
Jesse dies, and Jesse might have been like, "Yeah, I'll see the baby, and we'll just kind of have this cool symbiotic relationship." Dead. How do we solve this thing? How do we make this have a resolution? Kill it. Are you sure, Neil? Yes. Just shoot it. That's kind of what the game is. Do you have a resolution? Kill it.
Kill it.
What about Isaac? Like, what's his resolution? Kill him. Wow. Manny, kill him. Mm-hmm. What about Tommy? Well, just, make him an asshole and divorce his wife. Might as well be dead. Like, he might as well be dead.
His
He's limping.
dead.
Half his face is missing.
Right.
And it's like, we're just going to break all of your characters. We're going to make you sad. We're going to make you depressed. We're going to make you hate the story. And, yeah. And then we do, and they're mad.
The amount of hate that Neil and who's the voice actor for Abby? Laura.
I don't agree with what happened to Laura.
No, I don't agree with the amount of hate that they're getting at all, because I saw some Twitter posts and some news feed stuff of people just saying horrific things to Neil and horrific things to Laura Bailey.
And also, obviously some of it is true.
Or Abby's voice actor.
Some of it's not trolls, but a lot of the people or the gamers are just like, this sucks, and you just you're just done. A lot of gamers don't want the hate speech, because then, like what Druckmann said was, these gamers need their mental health. It's like, great, now all of us
now we're all lumped together with these fucking pieces of shit. And, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
But you didn't make a good game, and I think there's a discourse to be had there about the game and about the choices that were made. Right. And it's just being dismissive.
Yeah. They keep saying, we'll take criticism. We love criticism. And people are like, we don't like the game. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Oh, the critics said 10 out of 10. What the fuck are you talking about?
That is true. The critics did pretty much unanimously voted a 10 out of 10.
No,
I don't get it.
No, because it's the name. They're going with Sony, and they have to get access. If you don't give Last of Us 2 a 10 out of 10, you're not going to get Ghost of Tsushima. You might not get Cyberpunk. You get blacklisted.
That's shitty.
That is what it is.
Dude,
That's why people don't give a crap about their opinions. My favorite thing, though, that happened with this, a lot of people will agree, before, this is a Neil Druckmann quote.
Okay.
People are like, it's going to be divisive and stuff. People are like,
he did.
He said that so many times. It's going to be divisive. People are going to hate it, which this is dumb. Why make a split? Bring us together. That's what the first game did.
Yeah.
So his quote is, I would rather fans passionately hate the game than saying it was just okay.
Hey,
you nailed it.
Well, Neil, you nailed both of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, he's bringing people together now to hate the game.
Not even that.
That's what
the great part is honestly, the game is just okay. My score, so that's like the cherry on top. Neil, your game is okay, and people passionately hate it.
Right.
My score for the game, because the good things are great and the bad things are awful, but it does more bad than good. So I would give it like a 4 out of 10 because it does so little to improve the first one. The gameplay is almost identical, but the story doesn't pull you. It's also stretched too long. The first game, short, sweet, to the point. Second game, we're going to start you over from the start. You start all the way over and you're like, fuck. I have to get all my power-ups. I got to craft my guns again.
Right.
I got to scrounge again. Where are the guns? I had to look up a fucking tutorial because you can just walk right past all the guns. Mm-hmm. First game, I think you can only walk past the flamethrower, but it's pretty easy to find.
Right.
Because in the first game, you like exploring because you find cool stuff, where in the second game, it's just, there's a bottle. Or these fucking stupid superhero
And the
cards.
characters might be interrupting you, enjoying the exploration.
Yeah, the whole game is just collecting these superhero cards because Ellie collected comic books last time, but she doesn't pick up a working PlayStation Vita.
Oh yeah, fuck that shit, man. Come on.
She kills a chick playing a Vita who's playing Hotline Miami, which that's a good game. And then you just look at, you're grabbing some old cardboard. You ain't gonna pick up a PlayStation Vita that's working?
Right.
Shit.
That doesn't make sense.
So, and it's just everything in the game has to land for their message to get across and for it to work. And so many threads just pull apart with weak characters.
Right.
And everything is one note and the story is so black and white. Like, characters are stereotypes. Dina is like such a stereotyped bisexual character. She's so flip-flopping. It's like, well, what's the stereotype of a bi character? Well, probably this. And then that's what they did. Ellie has really weird flip-flops of being like her old self or just stereotypical, what a stereotypical lesbian would be written like. And it's not good.
Right.
And then Abby's just like, I'm tough, man. But then I'm also like really quiet woman for no reason, which is kind of why Laura's voice doesn't, it works sometimes when she's aggressive, but then she's like, I just have this soft little voice because I'm like, oh, it's so nice. I'm like,
Right.
Mel is this like, the characters are just very one note, stereotypical, like especially Manny. I don't know how they thought that was good.
Established.
Yeah. Like that is like so stereotypical. It's like,
Right.
just constantly spouting off random Spanish words. And like, I asked my coworker, I'm like, what do you think of that? And he's like, you don't fucking do that. That's just weird. I'm like, yeah, it's just a weird stereotype. Why write like this? And then it's like, it's so brilliant.
So 4 out of 10 for Philip.
4 out of 10.
What about you, Austyn? What do you think? Final thoughts.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think the graphics were amazing.
Okay.
Everything about like the transitions in the game, to the animations, to I mean, there's like I don't think how many loading screens were there? There weren't even that many.
You only have a loading screen when you die.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like no loading screens pretty much at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, like even like the snow and like the when you're running through the snow, it looks amazing. Even like running through the mud, you know, when you're running through like ice, it cracks and stuff like that. I thought that stuff was just like, I'm hopeful that, you know, all those people that left Naughty Dog are spreading out and doing all these other games to help make these games look like this.
Really? The graphics are so good, but the people who made them are gone.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that they will make some other games that will be like graphically like this game.
Really?
Because that's how much 10 out of 10 for graphics.
Jeez.
I would agree.
10 out of
Like 9.5 for me. It's only a 9.5 because what about Ghost of Tsushima? What about Cyberpunk? Those graphics are going to be great, but we're almost at a new console.
Right.
So that's only going to hold up. Like Red Dead Redemption. We're like, Red Dead Redemption 2, those graphics are so good. Who talks about the graphics for it now?
Right.
Like it's still good.
Yeah.
But
fine.
Yeah. So they are still good. I noticed a lot of glitches on my end, unfortunately. Like I had weird like clothes spinning glitches. Like in a cutscene, their clothes would just flip and flip. So like I'm like, is Jesse standing backwards? Flop, flop.
I didn't get any of that.
And some people have like had the game run like ass. Like the guy I was watching, he's like, I give it a 1 out of 10. It ran, I pressed play and it started somehow. Like he kept getting pulled through floors and like couldn't get in the boat, grabbing enemies through walls. There's some like I had a pretty good run and I was already pulled out of the game before the glitches started happening.
Right.
But the like people would like flip around like right when the transitions and cutscenes. So it was like jarring, but it just happened for a second. So I'm like, did that happen? And even you were like, is he backwards? What? Nope.
Nope.
When I was playing on my PlayStation 4 Pro on my 4K TV, so I was just
same here.
Really?
Same
and
here,
you still had? Oh man, I don't know.
Yep.
Like I'm not gonna say it was good. Like it was pretty. I'm impressed.
Yeah, backgrounds, everything was just gorgeous. And I even thought like some of the enemy AI was kind of smart.
Yeah.
Because they would flank you. They would they'd either do some flanking maneuvers and you're trying to like combat other people and they'd come back around you and shoot you from behind or hit you from behind.
If only your ally would do that too.
Yeah, but they would help you do that. That's what I was mad about. Because like Dina just sitting over there hitting in a corner, just like and I'm just like,
I'm here to help you.
Help me! There's like 5 people on me.
They forgot to turn the flanking switch on for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that, and then like there'd be a melee person, and then there'd be somebody like firing at you for covering fire for the melee person to run at you and get you.
Yeah.
I liked how there's a couple like spots where there'd be the clickers or zombies or whatever, and people running around, and you could like throw a bottle. They both would go running to the spot, and they're like, "Oh shit, clickers!" Then
that's pretty cool. That was probably my favorite part of the game. You come in that red tunnel, throw a bottle, and then like 10 come out, and you're like, "I'm just gonna sit." And Amy's like,
That was entertaining.
"What are you doing?" I'm like, "Watch
this
crash."
Yeah, so all you hear is that and people screaming, and you're just like, Oh dear Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get to do that twice in the whole game.
Yeah.
You fell into my trap.
And I think at the end they had like zombies or the
Yeah,
Chained
they had
up.
him chained up. That was fun too.
Yeah, and you could just let them loose, and then they'd run around the compound and start killing people. So I like that. I like that kind of stuff.
Those
where I can
sound
have them
like-
kill each other.
Like almost Metal Gear 5 or Far
Yeah.
Cry style stuff, like
Yeah.
open world kind of stuff where you're like, I want to see how these systems will interact with each other. But are there segments where there is none of that to be had?
Yes.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
yeah.
Like I also like I think the AI is like it's either good or awful because I had that moment, but then sometimes they were completely stupid. They'd look right at me, do nothing,
Right.
Or they would just line up in a row. And I'm popping them, and like I'm not silenced. Bang, Jim, bang, Sherry, and then it's like they just go there. Like the Seraphites
Yeah.
had that issue. It seemed more so than the wolves that there's called. That's the other faction. For me, at least. That's where I noticed some hiccups in terms of them acting like idiots. And so it's like, it's either really good or like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just standing there.
Right.
I had issues with the Seraphites more than I did with the wolves.
Of them-
the wolves I thought were like more dumb. And then when I got to the Seraphites, they were like whistling and shooting me.
That
with
was cool.
bows,
That
and
was
then-
cool.
Yeah.
But like after, because they killed me once in that spot. And then like I came back, so I'm like, I'll sneak through the grass. And then they were just dumb. Like I'd shoot somebody and be like, what's going on?
You know. Yeah.
And I'm like, my silencer's gone. I'm right here.
So
Where'd that
what?
come from?
What? Having been through the first game, you watched that story fairly recently, I'm guessing,
No, that was a while ago.
a while ago.
Yeah.
What was your least favorite part about the story in the second one?
And my least favorite part of the story,
Yeah.
I'd probably say I didn't like how they showed Ellie killing everybody, and then you play as Abby and you get to introduced to all these characters that you just killed. So Ellie kills this dog named Alice, and you get to pet with her, you get to play fetch with her as Abby, all this stuff, and then dead. Like it
Right.
doesn't even matter that you got to know these characters because they're all just dead anyways.
I
Right.
felt a little bad with Alice when I got there and realized I'm like, oh, I know this dog. I feel kind of bad, but fuck everyone else. The dog doesn't know. That's what it is. The people know they're assholes, but the dog didn't.
That's why I don't really care about the characters at all. The ones that at least that die from Ellie, because I'm just
Yeah.
like, what's the point? They're dead. There's no
Right.
point in caring if I'm playing as Abby and they're like, oh yeah, hey yeah, we're doing this, cool, yeah, and I'm like, well, I mean, you're gonna die in like soon, so I mean,
Right.
it's there's no point.
Yeah.
So it's almost a detriment to the story then that you already saw that side
Yeah,
of the story. You've already been through this segment. Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
They kind of act almost too differently to how they are against Ellie. Not saying that like they can't be enemies, but like like Nora, for instance, calling Joel a bitch and very much antagonizing Ellie.
Right.
And with Abby, it's more like, oh yeah, everything's so nice. I'm be a good friend for you. And it's like,
Right.
it's a bit too much difference where it's like, this is a nice person because they're being nice to their friend.
Right.
Doesn't matter what they did to you or that they called Joel a bitch. They're a good person because
Yeah.
I didn't get to ask, and I'm sorry I didn't, but I wanted to ask you two, because I know my reaction and I vented, but what was your like first initial reaction to Joel's death? Like when it happened, what was your emotion? Because I explained mine, and it's a pretty big thing.
well, I mean, since I already knew it was gonna happen, but not to like, well, I mean, I think you kind of explained it that he was just beaten to shit
Yeah.
by Abby. So I mean, I was just like, God damn. Like, I was kind of hoping somebody would come in and save him. You know, like in normal video games, somebody would come in and save him.
The last minute, like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it happens
right.
so often
But it
in this
happen-
game, but
it
it can't for
happens a
Joel.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was disgust. I was just like, oh man, this is just and then the same thing with like Abby just having no remorse at all. And then, she actually does have feelings later on in the game somehow after killing Joel. I guess just killing Joel unlocks everything for her, I would say.
Revenge is good. She
Revenge
becomes
is
a human
good.
afterwards.
But yeah, no, I didn't like that at all. So I'm pretty disgusted, I would say.
Okay.
Amy, what was your reaction then?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know, cause
I know she screamed. She was like, oh, oh, oh. 'Cause she was.
yeah, I didn't want to watch it. Just it being how he looked and how.
No. She did not know. So he knew she didn't know. So.
Okay, I mean, I had a suspicion that he would die. Like, I wasn't really surprised in a way that he died. It was mainly just how terrible it was and how early it was, really.
Okay.
And I couldn't watch, like, him getting beaten up and how he looked afterward. And yeah, it just.
Did you cry as hard as your husband did?
I don't think so. I don't think I cried at all, honestly.
That is not true. You did.
No. That was what I mean. I didn't cry like him at the actual death scene. I did tear up at the same time when Ellie smelled his jacket.
Oh yeah, I remember that because that made me hitch, and I looked, and she's just like,
Yeah.
because that's like a real moment when I'm like, fuck. That.
I don't understand like how parts of this game can be so obtuse to how to tell a good story, and yet there are other parts where it almost seems like there are multiple writers. Like
That's right.
The same
That's
shit happened
fucking right.
on Heroes. I don't know if you've ever seen Heroes. But
yes.
like that same shit happened during that show where it's like fucking some of these segments are amazing, and there are other parts of this story that are fucking garbage.
You have reminded me.
Hit me.
2 writers. There's Neil Druckmann, and I think it's Haley Grossman or Grossman, something like that. They're the writers. They've been interviewed, and every time they were asked about something, they gave 2 drastically different answers. Now, that could be good when you're writing something to figure out, not, hey, our game is done. By the way, what'd you think this? Oh, shit. Like,
Shit.
like, Sally's reason for the reason Ellie left is she's suffering from PTSD. She feels she's too lost. She's too depressed. She's basically suicidal, and she thinks maybe this will do something. And Neil Druckmann's like, I think she's addicted to revenge. Those are 2 wildly different answers. And that's the entire interview. And it's like, okay, this is good while writing because then you get multiple sides, but you gotta meet.
Yep, you should pan those
Your
out
end
before-
product, you should be able to say the same answer.
Right.
At least something that's close.
Right.
And then they're like, well, what do you think about Joel's death? They're like, well, there's a lot of hard parts about it. You know, this was kind of hard. That was kind of hard. They never answered the actual.
Didn't have to happen, for one thing.
No, I feel
That
Joel.
was probably the hardest part.
I feel Joel should die but he should have a heroic death, like a good death, like fucking
A brave man's death.
Yeah, like Arthur Morgan
Sure.
in Red Dead Redemption 2. One of my you
Never
played. You have?
Oh, I loved it.
That ending, like I
loved that.
got emotional and I cried, but it was like I'm like, this is such a good ending for this character,
Satisfying.
and he became one of my favorite. I liked him more than the first game,
Right.
And then that one didn't shit on the first game, so it's like, they're like, but it's real life. That doesn't mean it's good. Real life
Right.
sucks. Let us
Right.
have enjoyment. Let us be happy.
Yeah.
I wanted to like this game, and it just like.
I mean, you at the beginning of the pod when you started coming
I
on, you
was
were so excited,
so
like
psyched.
so stoked. You got the
Yeah.
Ellie edition when you pre-ordered, and you were so happy.
It hurt me how disappointed he became. Like, I knew like how excited he was.
Yeah.
And like the
Like,
fact that
Amy.
I know. I'm like, he's just like, hold me. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Oh no.
That might have happened. Because, like, this is when I took, like, a reflection on the fact that I am a gamer. Like, sometimes you don't label yourself as a gamer.
Yeah,
Like, well,
yeah.
this is my hobby. And when something big in your hobby is just fucked up,
Right.
and you're like, what do I do? Because this legitimately was the game I was most excited for ever up until that moment in my life.
Right.
Yep.
And then it's just bad. And it's like, man, and then they're just dead and gone. Just that's just it.
Right.
And then there's no closure. And it's like, there's closure. It happened before the game. The closure of the game is what happens before he dies. It's bullshit.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Do you think when this game inevitably comes to PC that we will get a mod that fixes the story?
Oh, that'd be great. That'd
that happened to
wonderful.
KOTOR 2. KOTOR
Also,
2's story got fixed via mods.
I'm happy that their sales for the game are dropping drastically.
Yeah.
80% in the UK and 85% in Japan. Japan hates it.
That's awesome.
Evidently, Japan hates it so much that they're doing sales where it's like, buy 2 games and we'll give you Last of Us 2 for free.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
good on Japan.
everybody's like, the game was so fast as selling 4 million copies in the beginning. Yeah, because
Nobody knew.
Right.
and the thing
Now
is,
they know.
this game needs to sell probably about 8 mil to be good, like,
Right,
to make
to
profit,
break-
because they chunked so much fucking money into this. Like, there were some like writers before who were like, these guys are just hacks, and that Neil Druckmann kind of came in and hijacked a bunch of stuff like Uncharted 4. He kind of kicked Amy Hennig off the project. That's not what happened, but that's what happened.
Right.
And then other directors, and there was a guy who left, and he's like, if they were competent, this game would have shipped a year ago. The
Damn.
direction is so bad and this stuff is so basic. If they were competent, it would have been shipped a year ago. It's like red flags. It should have been like,
Right. Because
it's
Naughty
like-
Dog hasn't made a game this generation.
Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4. Okay.
Which
that was
I
the
liked.
generation. Okay.
I actually liked. The problem is like there was no emotional moment in it.
Yeah.
Like it felt like they marketing, I guess.
Yeah.
where it seemed like, oh, he might die. There's going to be heavy emotion, and it never happened. It was okay. It looked pretty. They've just been churning out okay games
Right.
that look.
That looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good. Like I'm not to say it doesn't, but it's like I'm kind of at the point of like, I mean, it does look really good, but that's only going to hold up for
Right.
another year.
So, what about a Last of Us 3?
Fuck it.
Okay. Let's say you, Austyn.
I'll watch somebody else play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, save your own money and just watch somebody else play the dumpster fire.
I'm kind of bummed about Lev.
Yeah.
I like his character. He's a likable character and has some realistic flaws and is struggling with not only everything inside, but
Right.
then the cult,
Right.
indoctrination.
Yeah, that
things
all
with his
sounded
mother,
interesting when you were talking
And then
about it.
Your
he's
mother and
just
sister.
snatched and thrown into Abby. And they're like, here's your Ellie and Joel. Sorry, I don't want Joel Killer.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of Lev, but Abby has not redeemed herself in the way that she could, and I don't know why they didn't do it. Is
Yeah.
it so hard for her to have any remorse for Joel when you want to say that murder and revenge is bad? Why is what she did good?
Right.
Why is brutally torturous, gut-wrenching? He even said, "Goddamn gross."
Yeah.
How you can't say that that's good.
Right.
And it's like she had a redemption arc. She did redeeming things, but she could have talked to the person that she
didn't
fucked
redeem.
over.
Yeah, she didn't redeem herself to the person where it actually mattered.
Like, going like, oh, what about like Darth Vader? It took his son redeeming him, and he died.
Right.
And it was his dying breath. He couldn't redeem himself because they're all dead.
Right.
And you still know he's kind of evil, but like there was that good, and it was manipulation by the Emperor, and it even seems like he's indoctrinated into that. But it's not like, oh, all those people he killed, we're gonna say that's good. But since Luke redeemed him, so like everything he did is good. He doesn't need to be sorry about that. It's all good. Thousands of people dead. It's good. It's cool. What he did was right. But Luke and his nephew, that's bad.
That's bad. Okay, Amy, do you have a number? 4 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
Oh, good grief! I mean, for you two, because you guys actually played it. Me just watching it, I feel like it has a different impact, really, because I'm just like a bystander, just just
Spectator.
seeing it. Yeah, spectator. Yeah. And the fact that I fell asleep during several parts of this
Just
game.
Abby's parts. Just Abby.
Yeah. I would agree that it is a very visually pretty game.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would be like a higher rating. Sure, like a 7 or 8 or something. I mean, I don't I don't know how to rate these things, but yeah, the story is just all over the place. It just seems very convoluted. It should have been streamlined better. There's just too much jumping around and flashbacks, and I don't just telling things that seem unnecessary. I guess that would probably be like a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing, this is the first game in my life that I ever thought was too long, and I wanted it to end. That is seriously, and I've been playing Death Stranding. I love Death Stranding. I'm having fun.
I can't stand
I've been
to watch
playing
you play
that for like 60 hours, and I'm like, give me more mail. Last of Us 2. And
All right. And speaking of end, we've got to end this thing. We've gone on way too
I
long.
apologize for ranting. I wanted to not to, but
Dominated by
No
Phil's
idea
voice.
how I'm going to put this episode together. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. This has been Crazy Train of Thought episode, whatever the fuck we're on. I've been your host, Ryan Wolf. Thank you, Amy, for being on. Thank you, Philip,
don't buy the game.
for your thoughts. Thank you, Austyn, for contributing. Don't buy The Last of Us 2. And
Also, don't send hate. Just don't. It's
don't send
unnecessary.
hate mail. It's all stupid. That's all dumb.
What
Be constructive
Thumper says.
criticism. Don't just say "fuck you," because then they're like, "Well, everybody says that," and it
Can't say
validates
something nice,
talk.
don't say nothing at all.
Bingo.
There
The
you
real
go.
people that made these games with real feelings, even if you don't like it.
Even if you don't like it.
I mean, we'll shit on your game, but don't say anything bad to the people who made it.
Yeah, we'll shit on it all day. We're out of here. See ya. That's all, folks. Are you ready for the debate of your life, Austyn?
No, that was Mass Effect Andromeda. I remember that.
That was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah, that was
Episode 4.
Wait, that was Cody just going
Ripping it
boom, boom,
apart.
boom, boom, boom. I'm like, yep, that's true. Yep, yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, yo, you're right. Yep, I'm not disagreeing with you.